end, Stephon Adams back deep to receive. You see him down near the goal line. And also Chris Woods back deep for Los Angeles. You heard Bill Walsh talk about injuries. The 49ers will get a good chance to see some of those defensive players that he talked about, as they will be on defense first as Wershing gets things underway. And the kick comes down to the 10-yard line, and then a stop made there as getting across the 26-yard line. Kevin Dean makes the stop for the 49ers. Here are the starting lineups now offensively for the Los Angeles Raiders. Starting at quarterback, Rusty Hilger. The running backs are Frank Hawkins and Marcus Allen. The wide receivers, Jesse Hester and Doki Williams. And the tight end is Todd Christensen, as Los Angeles will take over 1st and 10 on its own 27-yard line. The interior line, it's Bruce Davis, Charlie Hanna, Bill Lewis, John Giesick, rookie starter from Sacramento State, and Steve Wright at right tackle. 1st and 10 for LA on its own 27. As Hilger will go back to pass on 1st down and will go for it all. Going long and incomplete, as he was going for Hester, but incomplete down at the 20-yard line. And that's Raider football if I ever saw it, Mike, coming out and firing on 1st down. That's traditionally been Raider football. They like to stretch you out long, and right there you saw Los Angeles going with play action and Hilger going for it all. It'll be 2nd down and 10 now. Same two backs, Hawkins and Allen, as they give it to Allen. And some running room across the 30, then has his legs cut out from under him by McKyer, who came up from his cornerback position. Pretty good play by McKyer to come up after that play. Initially looked like it would go for big yardage, a pickup of 4. It's 3rd down and 6 now for Los Angeles. And Hilger will take the ball out of the shotgun. Time to throw, but now he's sacked and down he goes. As coming in and making the stop was Charles Haley for the 49ers, getting a sack there. Haley, the pass rushing specialist for San Francisco, in on that 3rd and long situation.
All right, you'll see Charles Haley's their pass rushing specialist. He comes in the 4-3. Good sack there. George Seifert likes to substitute a lot of players to keep them involved in the game, and Charles Haley is one of their outstanding rookies last year as a pass rushing specialist.
Now we're going to get a look at something in terms of the Raiders that has been an institution. Ray Guy no longer their punter. Stan Talley, the former Oakland Invader, will punt. And back deep is John Taylor to receive for San Francisco. Taylor with those 2 fine returns against the Chiefs last week, one of them going for a touchdown, and a low end-over-end kick as Talley gets not much hang time, and Taylor just runs away from the ball, and the 49ers will have it with pretty good field position, 1st and 10. Just a 39-yard punt, no return on that one.
Talley was quite a punter in the USFL. He averaged sometimes over 45 yards a kick, but he's been inconsistent, and looks like he's having that problem again. Steve Young will start here for the 49ers.
There you get a look at the starting lineups for the 49ers. Young, Cribbs, and Craig in the backfield. Rice and Wilson, the wide receivers, and John Frank, the starter at tight end, with Russ Francis out today. And they give to Cribbs, who struggles for a couple of tough yards.
Walsh wasn't happy last week.
And Keith Fondhorst, familiar names all, with the exception maybe of the starting left guard, where Bruce Colley has replaced John Ayers, who was cut before the start of training camp. Young will roll out on 2nd down with some running room, and he has a 1st down across midfield. Cuts back in open field in front of him before stepping out of bounds inside the 30. And there, that gives you an idea of the dimension that Steve Young adds to this team with his running ability.
Well, that's why Bill Walsh picked him up. He's a great athlete. Some say he would have been a great running back. He's got good instincts. His play, I don't know if it was planned. He rolled out. Wilson was just clearing out. But you see a great run here, a great move inside. A smart player. He steps out of bounds before he takes the hit.
34-yard gain for Young.
Walsh likes a mobile quarterback.
1st and 10 for the 49ers now on the Raider 27. Same 2 backs, Craig and Cribbs, behind Young, as he'll go back to pass on 1st down. Out in the flat to Rice, complete inside the 20, the 15, and down inside the 15 before Rod Martin makes the stop for Los Angeles.
There's some of that ball control passing I talked about. Mike Wilson will clear it out underneath. Jerry Rice will come underneath, make the catch on an out. Flood a zone to the left on Washington. They just acquired him from St. Louis.
14-yard gain on that play from Young to Rice. And another first down for the 49ers as they're now at the Raiders' 13-yard line, 1st and 10. Blown back behind him is now Roger Craig, who gets the ball down to about the 10, and that's all. The 49ers said last week that they wanted to get a good look at Steve Young, which they did to some degree, and Young said himself that he wasn't happy with the way he played. He felt his reads were not as good as they would have been. He felt he made some mistakes last week that he'll never make again.
Well, it's all a learning process for him. He's only going to get better and better. Bill Walsh had even said you won't see the best of Steve Young until next year. This offense is pretty complex, and he's a bright quarterback, and he's not going to do anything but get better.
Pickup of 3 on the play, 2nd down and 7, the ball right at the 10-yard line. Again, Craig and Cribbs, the backs behind Young. And he'll go back and pass for it. And John Frank, did he make the catch? Yes, he did. He looked like he bobbled the ball momentarily, but picked up first down yardage as he got inside the 3 to about the 2.
I think the 49ers might have got lucky on this call. Frank came across on a shallow cross. Looks like he has it here, bobbled it. We'll take it.
Can't tell if he trapped that off the ground or not, but whatever the case, it's 1st and goal now for the 49ers as they've moved the ball very consistently on their first possession here in the 1st quarter.
They want to get a long look at John Frank today with Russ out, and this is his final season. John Frank's got to be the heir apparent.
Double tight ends now for San Francisco. Cribbs and Craig, the backs behind Steve Young. And they'll pitch it out to Craig. High steps it toward the end zone, and did he get in? He did. That's Roger Craig at his best there, as you see that high stepping and then that extra surge as he goes toward the goal line.
Exactly. You won't see a guy who tries harder than Roger Craig. He works hard in the offseason. He got the 1,000 season 2 years ago, and Bill Walsh said he needs that again.
4 yards for the 49ers. Just used 2:53 on the clock as Ray Wershing comes in to attempt the extra point. High snap from center, but they get it down, and the kick is up and good. So we're early here at the LA Coliseum. 10:38 left to play in the 1st quarter. It's the 49ers 7, the Raiders.
Well, I think it'll help Steve to start. He comes in, he knows he's going to play the whole time. The team's behind him, and it's just a whole different situation when you start instead of coming off the bench. And I think Steve's going to be a great player in this offense. He just needs some time.
Chris Woods and Stephon Adams again back deep to receive for the Raiders as Wershing's kick comes down to Woods at the goal line. Trouble with the ball, but he'll run it out. And he'll go down. The ball's loose again. Did the 49ers get it? No, the Raiders recovered. Del Rogers was there, number 7 for the 49ers, who made that initial hit to knock the ball loose, but the Raiders recovered deep in their own territory at the 5.
The Raiders are really high on Chris Woods. He came down from Canada with Mervin Fernandez, another wide receiver. He's out of Auburn, and they're looking for him to be their return man this year and then spot play at wide receiver. As a young player, you have to make it on special teams, so that's not going to help his cause with that fumble.
Woods was able to recover his own fumble. They'll mark it at the 6, where it's 1st and 10 now for Los Angeles. Hilger with Hawkins and Allen, the backs behind him. And Williams in motion to the left. They give it to Allen, and he struggles for maybe a tough yard. We mentioned that 49er defense. The fact that only one of their normal 11 starters is on that starting defensive squad.
Well, I think that's going to help down the line. They need to work on their depth at defense, and this way they get to look at young players who were traded from other teams, and it gives them a chance to show what they've got. So I think you're going to see a lot of players try and shine today here.
Pickup of a yard on the play. 2nd down and 9 now for Los Angeles. Same 2 wide receivers, Hester and Williams. Hilger will go back to pass, and a quick look in there that goes incomplete as it was in and out of the hands of Hester. A very catchable ball, actually.
Jesse Hester, he had some problems last year. He's a speed burner out of Florida State, college I'm familiar with.
Why is that?
alumni. But he had some problems last year, actually, since he's been in the league, holding on to the ball. He's got the speed, he's got all the tools. It's just a concentration. He's got to learn how to catch the ball in a crowd. And he's got James Lofton behind him, so that's a little pressure that maybe he's not used to.
49ers now with their nickel defense, which means pass rushing specialist Larry Roberts on one side, Charles Haley on the other, as they give it to Allen, and he's going to be stopped short of the first down. Michael Carter in on the stop for San Francisco, along with Todd Shell. So again, the 49er defense stopping the Raiders up deep in their own territory, and LA will be forced to punt once again.
George Seifert's done a great job with the defense. He's been there for years now, and he's really one of the first coaches who started substituting a lot of players. He believes in
teaching the fact that Talley is a former Invader battling for the punting job with Ray Criswell, who we should probably also see today, as John Taylor will stand back deep for the 49ers. Talley gets a little better punt this time as Taylor takes it at his 49, looking for some running room, gets past the first tackler, but then down to the 45, and he stopped there.
As a young player, you have to
7-0 49ers with 8:53 left to be in the first quarter. We'll be back. Young, that's one of the things Bill Walsh said he wanted to see this week. He also said he wanted to see Terrence Flagler get the ball 8 to 10 times. We've yet to see him in the backfield, as Roger Craig is the lone back behind Young. And he gets the carry there, but not much, if any, yardage on that play. Reggie McKenzie making the play for the Raiders. A Raider team that still has a lot of familiar names for the East Bay fans that remember this club. It's hard to believe that they've been gone as long as they have. They're starting their 6th season in Los Angeles, are the Raiders.
I don't think the rivalry is as intense as it was when they were in Oakland, because it was a Bay-to-Bay series. I mean, it's still an intense rivalry, but not like when they were in Oakland.
No gain on the play, 2nd down and 10. Again, Craig, the only running back behind Young, as he'll go back to pass on play action, looking over the middle and throwing incomplete to Jerry Rice, in and out of his hands. Again, a catchable ball.
You won't see that too much from Rice. Jerry dropped one last week, a touchdown, and against Kansas City. It's preseason. He left the ground, as you'll see when he comes over the middle. And as a receiver, they try to teach you to stay on the ground. Number one, you can get injured when you go up like that, especially over the middle. And number two, when you go up, sometimes your concentration isn't as good because you're looking for that hit.
Lionel Washington on the defense for Los Angeles that time. 3rd down and 10 now for San Francisco, as they go with a 4 wide receiver set. Taylor is one of the wide receivers out to the left. Back to pass goes Young, and throws in the slot there to Tony Hill, who is up near first down yardage. That's the first we've seen of Tony Hill so far today. Sam Seal making the stop for the Raiders.
Bill said he wanted to see Tony get the ball a lot. He's another player, a veteran player, who was released by Dallas, which kind of surprised me this year, but Bill picked him up, and I think he could really help the 49ers at depth. Mike Wilson, who is the heir apparent to Dwight Clark's job, if Dwight cannot come back, Tony Hill will be an added dimension to this team. And you don't see Walsh run a lot of 4 wideouts. I think he wants to see Tony Hill. He wants to see John Taylor. So this could be a new formation for the 49ers.
10-yard play exactly on that one. So it's 1st and 10 for the 49ers, as they did get the first down yard, as they go back to a more conventional set now, as Young back to pass and has Craig out of the backfield, complete again up near first down yardage as he gets to the 25, and inside Reggie McKenzie for San Francisco. The ball on the 25-yard line of the Raiders. The 49ers have moved the ball well in both of their offensive series so far. Give it to Cribbs, and looks to have first down yardage. Rod Martin making the stop for the Raiders. Martin, in his 11th season with Los Angeles, has played in 128 consecutive regular season games. And
I spoke to Rod before the game. He was happy to see Charlie Sumner, who was away from the Raiders for a year, to be the head coach of the Oakland Invaders. He's back now as their defensive coordinator, and Rod said he couldn't be happier.
1st and 10 for the 49ers, as again they're moving deep into Los Angeles territory. Now they go in an I formation. Wilson wide to the left, Rice wide to the right, and they'll pitch it out to Cribbs. Cribbs looking to cut back and gets back to the line of scrimmage. Has a good play by Howie Long that time to stuff that play and prevent any pickup of yardage on the part of the 49ers. In the first quarter, the 49ers leading by a score of 7-0. They scored on their first offensive possession. This is their second, as they've moved deep into Los Angeles territory once again on 2nd and 10. Young back to pass, looking for it all to Jerry Rice. Has him open for the touchdown.
Very nicely executed play. Once again, you have Wilson and Jerry Rice down at the bottom of your screen. Mike Wilson will pull up, run a little delay, and that opens up the corner. But Jerry Rice, he just runs underneath the ball. Great throw by Steve Young.
The thing
either
that
caught or incomplete.
The thing that Rice did so well also is he sold Washington on the inside move and moved to the outside, and Young hit him perfectly with a touchdown pass. 23-yard touchdown play from Steve Young to Jerry Rice, and the 49ers have a 13-0 lead as Ray Wersching will come in and attempt the extra point and try to make it 14-0.
Walsh has to be happy with Steve Young so far.
No question about it. Wersching gets it up, and it's good. 5:23 left to play in the first quarter from the Los Angeles Coliseum. It's the 49ers 14, the Raiders nothing. We'll be back. 3:30 on the clock, and culminated with a 23-yard pass from Steve Young to Jerry Rice. Steve DeLine now will kick off for San Francisco. DeLine trying to win a job as again it's Woods and Adams back deep for the Raiders as DeLine's kick goes in and out of the end zone, and it'll be a touchback. Los Angeles will take over 1st and 10 on its own 20.
DeLine was first kicker the 49ers have drafted in a while. He's a rodeo man, actually, and it's tough.
A veteran like Ray Wersching, you have to do everything absolutely right when you're in training camp.
No question.
The Raiders still with their #1 offense now as Hilger gives it to Marcus Allen, and he struggles forward after. And the ball's loose. The 49ers have it. It looks like Raphael Cherry has come up with a football. I saw Allen down on the ground, and the 49ers have recovered the fumble. It was almost a delayed call, it looked like, as
it's a normal sweep. Oh, he was stripped there by Charles Haley.
Charles Haley stripped it away, and Raphael Cherry picks it up for San Francisco, returning it deep into Raider territory inside the 20. Raphael Cherry, a free agent signee, was drafted #5 by the Redskins in 1985 out of Hawaii. So he's trying to make a spot on this club, and he's getting a chance to play tonight because so many of the 49er defensive backs are injured.
Well, you're going to see some sloppy play from the Raiders. This is their first preseason game. The 49ers have had the luxury, or I guess the disadvantage, of playing an extra game this year. And I think it shows in their offense. It's not as sloppy. It was a little sloppy last week. Steve Young looks 100% better this week. And the Raiders are looking a little sloppy right now, but that's a normal procedure this early in the preseason.
Well, the total offensive yards, which you just saw certainly an indication of that. As you saw, Sean Jones had the wrong helmet as he went out there. Somebody had to get him his proper helmet. You mentioned the fact, you said it's a luxury or a disadvantage to play that extra game. Explain how both ways.
Well, a lot of, for instance, #1, the 49ers had to travel all the way back to Ohio to play in the Hall of Fame game, and they, by default, they did for the Rams, and it's a lot more taxing on your players. It's tougher in the game. It makes the season a little longer.
1st and 10 for the 49ers at the 17-yard line of the Raiders, again with excellent field position as they try to go for it all on 1st down, and passing to the end zone and to Terrence Flagler was Young, but the play was incomplete. Broken up by Rod Martin, who had Flagler out of the backfield.
Terrence Flagler, #1 draft choice of the 49ers. They're looking for a stud halfback, I guess you could say, and Bill said he wants to get him the ball running and probably receiving today. You'll notice Bill Walsh on the sideline, how serious he takes preseason games. He's not even wearing a headset, normally a tire for Walsh, so I think he's delegating some of the authority to the coaches.
There you see Steve Young's numbers, very impressive first quarter numbers. As he'll go back to pass on 2nd and 10, looking over the middle and incomplete, almost intercepted, intended for Mike Wilson, as the ball went off Wilson's hands, and Van McElroy had a shot at it but was unable to come up with the football.
The ball is a little behind Mike, but he's capable of making those catches. When you have a left-handed quarterback, you don't see too many in the league. The ball spins a little different, and as a wide receiver, it's a real adjustment at first. So they've had
3rd down and 10 now for San Francisco. The ball still at the 17-yard line of the Raiders. 2 wide receivers and 2 setbacks now for the 49ers. As Young goes back to pass on 3rd down, here comes the rush, and he comes out and the ball's knocked loose. Did the Raiders recover it? Howie Long with the blind side hit on Steve Young, knocking the ball loose, and Los Angeles has recovered.
Well, Steve Young was looking at Mike Wilson on a quick slant. He was covered, tried to scramble out, and from the backside, Keith Farnerson made a good block on Howie Long, but just snuck up on Steve Young, and 280 pounds hits 190. The ball's usually going to come loose.
Howie was the one who recovered the ball as well, as he not only made the hit and forced the ball free from Young, but also got on it himself. And the thing that looked a little bit dangerous about that, it looked like Young almost landed on the football, which can do something to your ribs or at least knock the wind out of you, but he got up and he was all right. Now Strahan in the backfield along with Kenny King for the Raiders as they throw it out to Doki Williams, who has first down yardage across the 35 to the 37 before Torrey Nixon made the stop for San Francisco.
I think it's a smart move here on the Raiders' part. They need to throw some quick outs like this, square outs, to get Hilger's confidence up. Let him complete a few passes, and let's get him in a rhythm. Torrey Nixon giving Doki Williams quite a cushion.
11-yard gain for the Raiders. They pick up their first down as they're now up at their own 38-yard line, 1st and 10. Give it to Strahan, who has some running room across the 45 to the 46 before Jim Fonhorst makes the stop. Strahan, in his 3rd year with the Raiders, was an 11th round draft choice in 1985.
Kind of odd to see this 49er defense. It's like the no-name defense of Miami in the early 70s.
9-yard gain on that running play. It's 2nd down and 1 now. The ball at the 47-yard line of the Raiders. Strahan, the lone running back behind Hilger, as he throws out in the flat, complete to Hester, who shakes one tackler, then loses the football. And did the 49ers get it? It looks like they did, but we'll wait and see as they unpile that group over there. One official now signaling that they did recover it, and they did. So the 49ers turn it over, and Los Angeles turns it right back.
Just a quick hitch. Hester has the ball. He made the catch at least, but running kind of loose with it. When you have the pursuit you do in the NFL, you've got to tuck that ball away when the impact comes along.
Tom Cousineau looked like was the player who stripped it away, and George Cooper made the recovery for San Francisco. Cooper got quite a bit of playing time in that first exhibition win over the Kansas City Chiefs in the Hall of Fame game in Canton. And again, because of the large number of injuries, he will get a good opportunity to play here tonight. 1st and 10 for the 49ers on their own 46. As Young on play action goes back on 1st down, gets past the initial wave of rushers and throws for it all. But it's intercepted back inside the 5. Van McElroy up to the 20, the 30, and across the 30. So the 49ers and Raiders playing turnover ball here as San Francisco loses it on a fumble. The Raiders give it back on a fumble, and now the 49ers throw an interception. I think 15-0 lead, and the 49ers have turned the ball over twice, the Raiders once. That last return by Van McElroy, 29-yard return. And the Raiders 1st and 10 now with the ball in their own 33. Hilger back to pass on 1st down, and he's throwing long. Nixon with pretty good coverage out there as it goes incomplete, intended for Doki Williams. And Nixon was running with him stride for stride. If anyone had a chance to catch that ball, I think it was Nixon rather than Williams.
Right here you see the previous play. Jerry Rice, he's covered pretty well. I think it's, like I said, if Steve Young would have got the ball off early, he might have had a better chance. Lionel Washington's right with him. Becomes like basketball now. It's who can screen who out, and Washington screened him out, and McElroy came up with the interception.
Might not have been the best read either to throw into double coverage like that as Young did.
Not at all.
Probably his first mistake of the game, really. Kenny King, the ball carrier for the Raiders on 2nd down and 10 as he struggles for a couple of yards across the 35. Kenny's Cousineau making the stop for the 49ers.
Kenny's an interesting story. He was out all last year. The Raiders waived him, and with Napoleon McCallum now probably not going to be able to play this year, they gave Kenny another tryout this year, and they say he's been doing well in camp, so he could come back and help the Raiders this year.
Napoleon McCallum's story, an interesting one, as he was a part-time naval officer last year, actually probably a full-time naval officer and part-time football player. And we'll discuss a little bit more of that in a second as it's 3rd down and 7 now for Los Angeles. Ball across the 35 at the 36. And Hilger works out of the shotgun once again, and again throwing for it all as he has Williams out there with a step. But now a penalty flag as Nixon came back for the ball. Raphael Cherry also out there in the coverage. But I believe we're going to have a pass interference call.
This could be offensive interference. We'll see. This is typical Raider football. Just air it out. Look down the field here. Well, Doki slowed down, and Nixon ran up his back, so I don't know how he's going to call that.
Well, the Raiders are running down to the other end of the field at the 25 where it's 1st and 10. So that pass interference call will go against Nixon. And there was some contact that he initiated on the very tail end of that as Williams was trying to come back for a slightly underthrown pass. as he gets the call there.
It's like drawing a foul in basketball. Did a good job of it there, Doki Williams.
1st and 10 now for Los Angeles on the 25-yard line of the 49ers. Strahan and King, the backs behind Hilger as King goes in motion to the left, and Strahan bangs forward across the 20 to about the 19. We mentioned about Napoleon McCallum. He had received special permission from the Department of the Navy to play football for the Raiders while he was stationed on board ship at San Diego, I believe it was.
Right.
So he was driving back and forth between here and San Diego. The irony of the situation now is in his new assignment, he's stationed at Alameda Naval Base aboard the USS California.
Maybe the Raiders will move back to Oakland just to get him on the team.
A little bit too much of a drive to drive back and forth for practice now. 2nd down now as King with some big running room has a 1st down inside the 10-yard line. It was 2nd down and 6, and now the Raiders with another 1st down as they've gotten their offense moving with some help from that pass interference call as they're inside the 49er 10 where it'll be 1st and goal.
Here you see just a good drive off the line. The Raiders had problems with their offensive line all last year. They are getting older and had some holdouts this year in camp and some injuries, so we're seeing a lot of the younger players. Their top 3 draft choices were offensive linemen, and as the 49ers are, they're looking to make some changes to keep up with the league, so to speak.
You saw Jeff Fuller get his helmet knocked off on that play as he came in to make the stop. And Hilger gives it to King, who tries to go to the outside across the 10, and not much of a pickup on that play as the 49ers had that one pretty well blocked out.
Tom Cousineau looks to be all over the field here early. Another player who came in last year pulled a hamstring, and the 49ers were looking for some help from him.
Lilly from Tulsa had a tryout with San Diego in '86, now signed with the 49ers as a free agent this season. 2nd down and goal for the Raiders as Hilger will go back to pass, has all kinds of time and throwing to the back of the end zone, but out of the end zone.
It's a great catch by Doki Williams, but just couldn't get his feet down. 49ers make one of their patented defensive shifts. We'll see the play here again. Doki Williams just came all the way across the field.
Hilger just threw it a little bit too far as he was open and running free at the back of the end zone.
Got 1 foot down, but that only works in college.
3rd down and goal now for the Raiders. The ball just inside the 9-yard line of the 49ers. Hester and Williams, again, the wide receivers for Los Angeles. And King and Strahan, the running backs. We're inside a minute to play, 37 seconds left in the quarter, and that ball was mistimed as the 49er cornerback out there, McKyer, probably had the best chance of catching that ball. They tried to go on a timing pattern to Hester.
It looked like a busted route on Hester's part. He ran the slant. Hilger looked like he threw the fade to the corner. Jesse Hester needs to get on the same page.
43 seconds left in the 1st quarter. The Raiders on 4th down now will have to settle for a Chris Barr field goal attempt as they'll place it down at the 16-yard line, a 26-yard attempt by Chris Barr. Ed Luther, the holder for Los Angeles. High snap from center, but Luther gets it down. And a penalty flag as the kick was good. But let's wait and see what the penalty call was. It's holding against the Raiders. So they'll have to back it up and try it once again. And if you want to hear some boos in this place, see what happens if Barr misses this one. He has enough leg, but he hits it. And the Raiders are on the scoreboard with 34 seconds left to play in the 1st quarter. After that 36-yard field goal by Chris Barr. 34 seconds left to play in the quarter at San Francisco 14. The Raiders.
My career on it.
Del Rogers back deep for the 49ers along with Tony Cherry as Barr kicks to Rogers at the 5-yard line across the 10, the 20, and a space up the middle of the coverage that time as he gets across the 30 and down to the 34-yard line.
Believe me, it helps down the final cut down date.
Sam Seal made the stop for Los Angeles. 1st and 10 now for the 49ers as they give it to Harry Sidney, I believe, who's in there across the 35-yard line. Or was it Flagler?
That might have been.
It was Terrence Flagler, yeah. Terrence Flagler and Tom Rathman, the running backs right now for the 49ers. As the 1st quarter is going to wind down to a close here, the clock running, 3 seconds left, 2-1, and that'll do it for the 1st quarter. as the 49ers have to be happy with what they've seen from their offense so far as they lead the Raiders 14-3 after one quarter here at the Los Angeles Coliseum. We'll be
maybe talk about some of the changes in the 49ers.
one quarter completed here. One quarter completed here at the Los Angeles Coliseum. The 49ers with a 14-3 lead over the Raiders. And I think San Francisco has to be happy with what it's seen out of its offense and out of quarterback Steve Young so far. 49ers with the ball on their own 36-yard line, second down and 8 as we begin the second quarter. Young, the quarterback. Tom Rathman now the lone running back behind him as San Francisco goes with double tight ends and 2 wide receivers. Young back to pass, swings it out to Rathman and makes a nice catch across the 35 and about to the line of scrimmage. That's all.
Looked like Young audibled on that play. It's one of the luxuries of Bill Walsh's offense. You look down the field to your main receiver, he's not there. You go over to the middle. If not, the back is always out in the flat for you. He's always got a third receiver to bail out on. Last week against Kansas City, Steve Young was having trouble getting to that third man. And it's such a luxury, I think he realized that.
Pickup of just a yard, third down and 7 now for the 49ers. You talked about audibles. The thing that I found fun about being in camp with you is you were calling the plays after you heard the audibles. You still remember the offensive series from when you played here. Pass intended for Jerry Wright as, again, Rice had the ball go in and out of his hands as Young tried to hit him on the run. That would have been good for first down yardage, but Rice unable to hang on to the football.
Jerry's coming across the middle. He's trying to get through, weave through the traffic, and sometimes you have to take your eye off the ball just to avoid contact, and that's what happened there. You won't see Jerry Rice drop that many passes.
You said that twice already.
I know, although he's had trouble so far.
But it definitely makes a difference, doesn't it, with a left-hander back there throwing. There are some adjustments that you have to get used to.
There's no question. You like to hope to think that fumble last year in that Giant game isn't carrying over into this season.
Runniger will punt for the 49ers as San Francisco punts it away for the first time tonight. It's a high spiral coming down at the 25-yard line, and with some running room for the Raiders across the 40-yard line is Chris Woods. Woods trying to make this ball club as a kick and punt returner and doing a pretty good job that time after having some trouble hanging on to the football earlier. 14:02 left to play in the first half. It's the 49ers 14. A 39-yarder for the 49ers and an 11-yard return by Chris Woods. And the Raiders with the ball at their own 33-yard line, actually between the 33 and 34, where they have it first and 10. Be interesting to see now how the 49er defense does on this drive. The Raiders were helped on that last drive because of the pass interference call. And again, not a lot of people on that defense who will be starting the regular season, at least hopefully for the 49ers.
Sometimes that enthusiasm, though, will carry over for them. You get a young team in there, and they'll do well as a team.
The Raiders spread it out now with 3 wide receivers as Hilger back to pass on first down, throwing over the middle, intended for Woods, but incomplete. Chris Woods, the receiver, wide to the right that time.
Just ran a simple, quick post. Hilger put the ball right on him. They're real high on this kid as a return man. He needs some reps. It looks like a wide receiver. But I don't care what any wide receiver ever tells you, nobody likes to run in the middle like that. When your number's called in the huddle to go over the middle, I guarantee you think twice. You got to bring that concentration level up just a little more.
Now Mark Pattison is out wide to the left for Los Angeles on 2nd and 10. And Woods goes in motion. They give it to the up back in the eye. Jim Fonhorst making a stop that time for the 49ers as
the Raiders, it's kind of interesting. The Raiders and the 49ers are looking to make some changes in their offensive line. I think the trend in the league now is for a lot larger offensive linemen, the 280 to 300-pounder plus. The Raiders have always had big linemen like that, and Al Davis wanted to continue that. The 49ers, though, they've gone with smaller linemen for their offense over the years, and I think Bill's going to try and get to the larger lineman himself. It gives you more time to pass, and it's easier to run the ball with larger men.
Ethan Horton was the ball carrier in that last play. You got to look at him for the first time tonight. 3rd down and 8 now for the Raiders as Hilger goes back to pass, is in trouble, but rolls away from trouble before Haley comes in to close in on him. The pass was first intercepted, then dropped by Matt Courtney for San Francisco as it was overthrown by Hilger, but a penalty flag as well. And let's see what the call is.
Looks like it could be interference. That was a great effort by Matt Courtney. That would have been a career interception for him against the Oakland Raiders.
Penalty is indicated against San Francisco.
Interference.
Courtney was deep on the coverage.
Holding, number 52 on the defense, first down.
George Cooper called for the hold that time. That was away from the play, as that's one of those ones that hurts when it's totally away from the play. The ball is going to go incomplete, and you have to bring it back as the Raiders get a first down.
Your rookie mistakes, you hate to say that, but he's just trying to make the team.
Woods out wide to the right now for the Raiders. Comes in motion. They give it to Ethan Horton across the 40, about the 42, as a penalty flag goes down once again. Kevin Lilly making the stop for the 49ers. Interesting story, Ethan Horton.
He actually was a #1 draft choice a couple years ago. The 49ers had him in minicamp, didn't sign him, and then all of a sudden he ended up in a Raider uniform. They like him. He's a big, fast back. Had some trouble, like I say, his rookie year, making the adjustment, and they think he's got a chance.
Lined up in the neutral zone, number 52 on the defense, still first down.
George Cooper again called for the penalty there, as you heard Red Cashin say that he was lined up offside, so
A little overzealous.
not making good points on this particular series, as it's now 1st and 5 for the Raiders across their own 45, almost to the 46. Hilger gives it to Horton, and Horton just short of first down yardage and short of midfield.
It's tough as a rookie. You come out there, if you're a high draft choice, you know, you're pretty much, it's like a business. They've invested money in you. You're going to get probably 3 years to develop and make the team. So you can just work on your game, learn the pro game. If you're a low draft choice and or a free agent, it's tougher. You have to worry about making the cut every week. So there's a lot more pressure on these players out on the field. The same thing goes with veterans who are assured of jobs, and then you have your fringe veterans. So it's a lot different pressure in a regular season game.
Steve Smith and Ethan Horton, the backs behind Hilger, as he'll go back to pass on 2nd down. Gets away from initial trouble, and now throwing long downfield, but incomplete and almost intercepted. Penalty flags once again, and it looked like we had some contact down the right sideline. Chris Woods, Jeff Fuller running stride for stride. Let's see if that's what the call was. The 49ers came up with the football.
Well, Woods did a good job of trying to draw the foul. He threw his arms up like he was going for the ball. But the rule on that, if it's uncatchable, we'll see the call here.
Offensive pass interference, number 23 on the offense. Defensive pass interference, number 9, the penalty's offset, still 2nd down.
Well, Woods did draw the interference, and Ethan Horton must have right there. No, Ethan Horton, yeah, he was blocking right there when the ball's in the air, and he's a running back, and that is not allowed.
Well, the 49er that they called the defensive pass interference on is Darryl Pollard.
He's in for Nixon. I don't know if Torrey got hurt or they just went ahead and put him in for the 2nd quarter, so we'll check on that and find out later.
So it's 2nd down again now, 2nd down and 2 for the Raiders. A lot of people getting a chance to play for both these teams, and we'll try to keep it all sorted out for you. They give it to Smith, and he has some big yardage across the 40, inside the 40-yard line before Jeff Fuller is able to pull him down. Steve Smith, the rookie from Penn State.
He was one of your typical Penn State fullbacks who blocked for 4 years for the superior running back, supposedly, and then Smith came in the league, and the Raiders are real high on him. They say he's a good runner. He just never got a chance in college, and we saw a little bit of it there.
Pickup of 14 on that play. The ball inside the 40. Down at the 37-yard line of the 49ers. Smith and Horton, again, the backs behind Hilger, as the Raiders going with their 3rd backfield that they've used already here in the 1st half. Fake it to Horton on 1st down on play action. Hilger with all kinds of time and throws back to Woods, who came back for the ball at the 30 before he's wrestled down by McKyer and Cousineau.
That was a nice job by Woods at coming back to the ball. A lot of receivers, especially young receivers, they'll get down, they'll run the route, they think they're open, and they wait for the ball. And by that time, the time the ball gets there and the defensive back closes, it's too late. He came back to the ball, and that enabled him to make the catch. I'm surprised we're seeing him a little more than Mervin Fernandez today.
not only Fernandez, but also James Lofton, who the Raiders said they wanted to take a look at. They've gone to their third deep wide receivers with Woods and Patterson rather than Fernandez and Lofton. They give it to Smith. Smith bangs forward across the 20, down to about the 18. And Smith, with his second very successful carry so far for the Raiders before Raphael Cherry makes the stop. Here's a guy that, as you said, from Penn State, blocked for some of the more glamorous backs that Penn State is more traditionally known for, but the Raiders said he does have some very good ability with the football when he has it. He just didn't get that much of an opportunity at Penn State to run with the ball.
We saw there, he's a short strider, so he's able to pick his holes and goes, where Ethan Horton is a long strider, and I think that was part of his problem his early years. Smith has the acceleration.
Horton, you see him at the bottom of your screen as a wing position as Hilger goes back to pass, and Charles Haley throws him to the ground. That should have been intentional grounding, I would think, but no penalty flag on the play. Hilger threw it down.
Well,
that's certainly to avoid a sack, and that's what the rule reads. When you're throwing a ball to try to avoid a sack, it should be intentional grounding. They're gonna, well, they will rule it a sack is what they'll do.
That was
no
a smart,
grounding.
smart play on Hilger's part, though. Charles Haley just continuing his pass rushing vengeance. Last year he came on strong, was second on the team in sacks, and he's not going to do anything but get better.
Second sack for Haley on Hilger so far tonight, as they lost 6 yards on the play, and a timeout on the field with 9:30 left to play here in the first half. It's the 49ers 14, the Raiders 3. At their own 25-yard line. Rusty Hilger so far is 3 for 9 for Los Angeles for 27 yards. Been sacked twice, both by Charles Haley.
He looks a lot more poised, though. I think, as I said with Steve Young, he knows he's going to be the starter now. It's his job to lose. You see Bill Walsh there casually without his headphones. And I think you'll see a lot better player out of Rusty Hilger this year.
Raiders go with 3 wide receivers now as Steve Smith is the lone running back. On second down and 16, Hilger to throw it. And throws it. Was that ball trapped? It was. Incomplete. Intended for Horton over there, who lined up in a slot wide to the right. But it's incomplete. It'll be third down and 16. Penalty flag on the play as well. And it looks like the 49ers are going to be consulted in the part of the field where you usually assume offensive holding.
It's a good job by Horton to bounce up and try and get the completion.
You know, you touched at the start of the broadcast on the Raider offensive line. They had some changes that have to be made there. And they're working under.
Holding, number 63 on the offense, still second down.
That's John Giesick, the rookie. We mentioned Mickey Marvin, Henry Lawrence both being out, and John Giesick, the rookie from Sacramento State, drafted in the 10th round, getting a start at right guard. The Raiders wanting to see what he can do. And that time he's caught for holding. Interesting thing about the Raiders, they have 2 draft choices on the club, both from Sacramento State. Rob Harrison, a running back, was also picked 10th round draft choice as well. Second down and 25 for the Raiders as Hilger will put it up, and a push in the end zone. Did he catch it for the touchdown? He did. Complete to Mark Patterson for the touchdown. A pass interference call in the end zone as well.
It looks like Patterson might have pushed off, though. Let's watch it here.
There's definitely a penalty flag there, but let's see who it was on.
He ran just a simple to the corner.
Number 9, defense.
See, yeah, he did push off.
Touchdown.
Daryl Pollard was the defensive back there with him, but they're going to call that one against Pollard.
Yep, well, he got away with it. Great catch, though. Look at
what a catch.
Ooh. No telling what's going on underneath there, but they got the touchdown. Patterson they like. He runs good routes. He's of the Blitnikoff, Bob Chandler mold. And they really have that in a while. He's a big target. Over the years, the Raiders have had the Cliff Branches, Jesse Hester, smaller receivers, and Al Davis was happy to get him. Mervin Fernandez, James Lofton, who are bigger targets, and Patterson, who are bigger targets.
49ers call for timeout as they didn't have all the people in there on the defensive point as he gets the kick up. And it's good. So the Raiders right back in this thing with 9:17 left to play in the first half. It's the 49ers 14, the Raiders 10. We'll be back. Great.
Tony Cherry.
Oh, now we're going to see a different kicker. Number 1 for them. Hardy.
Who?
David Hardy. Yeah, thanks, Vinny. I think it was all San Francisco early in this ball game, but now the Raiders have come back to score a field goal just before the end of the first quarter, and now a touchdown pass from Rusty Hilger to Mark Pattison, and it's a 14-10 ball game. David Hardy will kick it off for Los Angeles, the first we've seen of him so far tonight. Del Rogers back deep for the 49ers along with Tony Cherry. Barefooted kicker, and it comes down to Cherry at the 7, across the 10, across the 20, and some running room across the 30, the 40, and the 45-yard line. And Hardy, the kicker, one of the last people who had a shot to come to him, as well as Stephon Adams. And the 49ers have to be happy with what they've seen on their 2 kickoff returns so far, Mike.
Well, Tony Cherry was in camp last year, and he did a great job, and they hated to let him go. They let him go the last cut, and they signed him for a futures contract, and you can see why here. He's a great special teams player, a low center of gravity, and he's hard to bring down because he is a strong player. He doesn't look that big, but those kind of players are the hardest to bring down.
Stephon Adams really prevented a touchdown that time with a hit that he put on Cherry, because I don't think Hardy was going to be able to get him. Let's see what Steve Young does now on 1st and 10. Throws a quick out pattern to Mike Wilson with some running room into Raider territory inside the 45, near the 40, before Sam Seal is able to drag him down.
Mike Wilson, he's been in the wings for 6 years behind Dwight Clark. Dwight's had some offseason knee surgery, and we hope he will be back. But right now, Mike Wilson is the heir apparent, and well-deserved. He's done a great job over the years coming off the bench. And if you are a player and you like to eventually see yourself as a starter, so I'd like to see Mike do a good job this year, and I'm sure he will. That was a great catch there.
Some very good competition among the wide receivers in camp this year for the 49ers. Some very capable people. 1st and 10 for the 49ers now at the 41-yard line of the Raiders. Rathman and Flagler the backs, as Rathman makes the carry this time inside the 40, down near the 37-yard line. Sean Jones making the stop for Los Angeles.
Rathman's another player. He was a rookie last year out of Nebraska. Big, fast player, and he only had one big run last year towards the end of the season. And I think you're going to see a lot more out of him this year. He can spell Roger Craig, and Roger wouldn't take such a beating. And he can also play halfback if he has to.
4-yard, call it a 3-yard pickup. 2nd down and 7 now for the 49ers. Rathman and Flagler again, the backs behind Young, as Young changing plays at the line of scrimmage. Straight back to pass it goes. Throwing along the sideline to Jerry Rice as penalty flags go. Rice with a great move on Washington to get free that time. Inside the 20, down near the 15, but a flag away from the play.
Had a little contact with John Frank running over the middle. Let's see what they call here.
Holding by the defense, number 30. That penalty is declined. 1st down.
Stacy Turan holding receivers in the NFL. Jerry Rice.
That's what Bill Walsh called him when we were up at camp recently. He said if he's not the premier wide receiver, I like listening to everything we say. So you just gave him one for the real there.
I like good head, but I never heard a dish head.
No.
All right.
Okay. Great. Then at halftime, Wally, what do we do? Just toss it to break, or I mean, are we coming back after that? Oh, okay.
20 in, so let's see if he maybe goes for the end zone here.
Rathman and Flagler, the backs behind him. Double tight end set now for the 49ers as they give it to Rathman, who bangs it down inside the 20, or rather the 15, down to about the 12 or 11 where they'll spot it.
That was an interesting formation. They had the tight ends both on one side. Ron Heller, tight end they kept last year on injured reserve all year. They liked. We'll probably see him a lot in the 2nd half. Mike Wilson just checked back in the game.
Steve Young has said that this is just a dream come true for him, being with the 49ers, being coached the way he's coached. He kind of feels like he's stagnated about the last 3 years of his career, both in the USFL and at Tampa Bay. And it's really been a pleasure for him. He's one of the few people who enjoys going to practice as he rolls out to his left looking for someone to hit, and has Heller down near touchdown territory, but just short as he's knocked out of bounds.
I think you'll see a lot more of that with Steve Young. The rollouts, bootlegs down here in the 20-yard line in. Joe Montana ran him when he was a little younger, but Joe's getting up there in age now. And as I said, Steve Young can run. He ran a 4.5 40 one time in his career. And here's Ron Heller, who we just spoke about. Made a good catch and held on to the ball, so won't hurt his cause.
The thing that sold that play was the fake pitch to Rathman toward the right, and I'm sure the offensive line was moving that way as well, and that affected the Raider reads as Young came back to his left. They give it to Flagler, who tries to bang over the top, and he gets in for the touchdown.
We talked about wide receivers hating to go over the middle. Here's a situation where running backs hate to dive over the top. It's a play that 49ers actually work on it in practice. And the linebackers on defense are taught just to dive as high as they can also.
And will attempt the extra point for the 49ers. Gets it up. And good. 6:29 left to play in the first half as the 49ers get on the board here in the second quarter for the first time on a 1-yard touchdown run by Terrence Flagler. It's now 21-10 49ers. A little bit more on that. Adams back deep for the Raiders along with Chris Woods as the line kicks it down to Woods. Takes the ball to 2. Across the 10 to the 20. A little bit of running room up the middle, but then the 49ers shut it down. Bob White in on the play along with Matt Courtney and John Taylor getting off the bottom of the pile for the 49ers. So Taylor not only can run with the ball in special teams and get down and make a tackle as well.
They're looking for some big things on him on special teams this year and then work him in as a wide receiver. Bill Walsh is really high on him. I think we're going to see a lot more of John Taylor in the future of the 49ers.
First and 10 now for the Raiders. The ball at their own 27. Smith and Horton again, the backs behind Hilger on first down, and he'll go back to throw. Swings it out to Horton. Horton across the 30, the 35, up near first down territory before he's finally brought down.
Just a quick screen out. Hilger drops back, doesn't even look downfield really. Drops it outside to Horton, who I talked on earlier was a long strider. That was a nice move cut back there. A lot of college runners who are cutback runners get to the NFL, and the pursuit is so great in the NFL. You've got to have great peripheral vision to be able to cut back, because if you judge wrong, you're going to take a shot.
They'll come out and measure and see whether or not they were able to pick up first down yardage on that play. You mentioned the special teams. Now that's something that kind of was a sore spot for the 49ers last year. Lynn Stiles has been hired, the former San Jose State coach, as the new special teams coach. And he is maybe adamant about the special teams is not even a strong enough word, but they will play well or he will let somebody hear about it.
He's actually one of the most intense coaches I've ever been around. The joke up at the 49er camps is he's kind of taken over with his meetings because the special teams meet first. And then the offensive and defensive meetings were being held up because Stiles was keeping his players for 3 hours. But it showed up last week in Kansas City, and hopefully we'll see some continued improvement because special teams are part of the whole package.
Second down and less than a yard now for the Raiders. Again, it's Smith and Horton, the backs behind Hilger. Now they send Smith with the ball, and he gets first down yardage as he gets near the 40-yard line.
Looks like Todd Shell was in on that. Shell has been injured most of his career. He's hoping to stay healthy this year. 49ers like him as a pass rusher and a defender, and he's had some problems with some calcium in his thighs, some other injuries. Actually connotated the nickname Crystal, so hopefully he will hold up this year because he could be an addition to the Niners defense.
First and 10 for the Raiders on their own 40-yard line. Same two backs in the eye behind Hilger. 5-11 and the count. Clock running now, left in the first half. Pass intended over the middle for tight end Andy Parker, but incomplete.
The Raiders are looking for an heir apparent at tight end. Todd Christensen's been playing great for the past 8 or 9 years. Trey Junkin was a hopeful, but it got injured last year in the 3rd game and just come off, was actually just reactivated this week. I think he might see a little action, but they're looking for somebody who can spell Christensen. You can't catch 90 passes a year and your body not take a beating, so I think that's catching up with Todd.
49ers bring in their nickel defense now on second down and 10.
Hearing some boos from the Oakland Raider fans. LA Raiders, excuse me. Yeah, still stuck in Oakland.
Williams back in the game at wide receiver, but they give it to Horton, who has some running room. Raphael Cherry coming up to make the stop for the 49ers.
49er defensive backs doing a little double duty today. They're really thin. Those Fab Four who came in 81, Ronnie Lott, Carlton Williamson, Eric Wright are all injured. Should be able to be back in a couple weeks, but it's putting a lot of pressure on these young players, although it gives them a chance to show what they can do. So
9-yard pickup on that play. 3rd down and 1, and the 49ers known for their situation defense, coming back with their more basic set or short yardage defense here. Hilger, though, will pass it on 3rd and short. Has some time, throwing a sideline pattern, almost intercepted by Fuller. And that looks like a situation where Hilger and Mark Pattison, maybe the communication was not what it should be, because the pass was a little bit deeper than Pattison expected as he cut his route to the sideline.
That's a tendency of a young receiver to, if a defensive back is
Taylor back deep for the 49ers. This time he gets a little better punt off as Taylor signals for a fair catch, but the Raiders get a good roll out of the ball and will down it inside the 49er 10. The rule on that is if it's inside the 10, you signal for a fair catch and hope it rolls into the end zone, and most times that's the way the ball bounces, but not that time.
Exactly. John Taylor will stand on the 10, pretend he's going to catch the ball. Hopefully the Raiders will hold up, but not seeing the ball, and did not get a good bounce there.
43-yard punt by Talley. Interesting thing what the Raiders were saying about Talley. He has the capability of really getting into the ball, but they don't think he's as consistent as they'd like to see him.
Well, the problem is when you kick the ball that far, you get a 55-yard punt off, you've outkicked your coverage. So usually the run backs on punts that good are just as good, so it's cuts down the average.
Taylor now in as a wide receiver as the 49ers swing it out to Rathman, who gets across the 10 to the 11 or 12-yard line. This is the part of the field where the 49ers have been successful running the football in the past. They probably would like to grind out some yardage here and not have to punt it deep in their own territory as we're nearing the 3.5.
The line wasn't moving people. His backs weren't hitting the hole, so he's looking to, I think, establish a little more of a running game.
An all-Nebraska backfield with Doug DuBose and Tom Rathman in there right now as they give it to Rathman, who bangs forward across the 15 to about the 16.
Bill Walsh probably one of the best coaches in the league in 2-minute offense, and then the 4-minute offense is when, like this, right before the half, or maybe you're ahead at the end of the game and you've got to get first downs. So you get Tony Hill and John Taylor at wide receivers in the game.
Again, Rathman and DuBose. The 49ers with 3 Nebraska running backs on the roster. Roger Craig, the 3rd one. As Young will try to run for the first down and is going to be stopped short of it.
Having that kind of mobility at quarterback is nice, but you see a quarterback run out of the pocket, the head coach has got to cringe a little, because every time he runs out of the pocket, there's a chance of taking a good shot and an injury. And Steve Young's just a highly competitive athlete. He doesn't even think twice about it. He kind of reminds me of McMahon from Chicago like that. He'll just take off running. That was part of Rusty Hilger's problem last year, is he would not stay in the pocket. You've got to be able to trust your linemen, stay in the pocket, take your reads, and throw the ball downfield. You start scrambling around, nobody knows where you are, and it's tough on everybody.
Greg Townsend made that stop for Los Angeles as Max Runniger will come in and punt for the 49ers, who now call timeout. It's usually the punter's job to count the number of players on the field and make sure there's 11 on the field. I don't know if that's what the problem was, but you saw Runniger making the count down there, and maybe either saw that he was going to run out of time. Oh, it was the 2-minute warning, so
that answers that.
Sometimes you have a tendency to over-figure these things.
He's got a rebirth.
Chris Woods will go back deep for the Raiders, stand at about his own 35-yard line, as now Runniger will stand in to punt it away once again. High snap. Gets a low spiral off that Woods comes up and fields at the 44. Doubles back, and now the pursuit doesn't catch him as he cuts back with some running room along the left sideline. Only Runniger to try to get him, and Woods will go all the way for a touchdown for the Raiders.
This is just why the Raiders picked up Chris Woods from Canada. You think he's a great player, you leave him back there, eventually he's going to break one. Great open field running and blocking.
Count the missed tackles on this, as I don't know if they're misses or near misses. Rathman there with an arm on him, but can't wrap him up. And he cuts back, made a couple of great cuts there, and then gets to the sideline, and only Runniger with the chance to get him as he turns on the speed there and completes a 56-yard punt return for a touchdown. And just like that, the Raiders back close as they struck quickly.
Just what Lynn Stiles told us last week. A big play like this on special teams can turn a game around. Right before half, they get the big touchdown. Now the 49ers go in. Unless they do something, the momentum is switched to the Los Angeles Raiders.
Chris White to attempt the extra point now for Los Angeles. White, the son of Mike White, the head coach at University of Illinois, and White misses the kick. Mike White, the former 49er assistant, worked with a number of NFL programs. The head coach at Illinois, his son Chris kicked for him at Illinois.
Must have felt some loyalty to Bill Walsh there. Missed the extra point for him.
Chris Woods, though, as you get a look at him on the sideline, a 56-yard punt return has made this a 21-16 ball game as the Raiders missed the extra point. And if you're a rookie battling for a spot on the roster and miss an extra point, you pretty much know that your days might be numbered.
It's tough, and you know, as your mind, you work through it. What I do wrong, what I do right as a rookie. Chris Woods, and I mean, you do something like that. John Taylor did it last week, 2 returns. It's just a great feeling. Yet you got to come right back, and it's like hitting a home run in baseball, I guess. You got to come right back up later on and hit again. So you can't gloat on it too long.
And again, we mentioned the things that the 49ers were doing well on special teams. Certainly their kickoff, or the kick return team, has done a good job so far tonight. But on their punt returns, they had a problem in Kansas City with a ball that was almost sprung for a touchdown in a similar situation with a very short amount of time left to play in the first half. This one goes all the way by Woods.
Fortunately,
how many times do you think Lynn Styles is going to look at that play back and forth on the projector?
Little tackling practice next week.
So let's see how the 49ers do on the kickoff returns, as again it's Rodgers and Cherry back. And the kick from David Hardy coming down short as Rodgers takes it at about the 20 and gets out to the 25, falls down on his own. I don't know if he was knocked down by a Raider or not, as he picked up a couple of extra yards.
Like a little pooch kick where you just drop it in between the wedge and the
Niners. Tony Hill and John Taylor, a couple of guys that Bill Walsh wanted to see quite a bit of in this ball game, the wide receivers. Back to pass goes Young. Look out for the rush. Dumps the ball off to Flagler. Flagler with some running room across the 30, the 40, just short of the 40 before he's knocked out of bounds. Lionel Washington making the hit out there, and you got to look there at how Terrence Flagler can turn it on once it gets around the corner.
Well, that was his forte in college. He's got the speed around the corner. You'll see Guy McIntyre come out here and pick off right around here. The old blind side block right there. Those are great on films on Monday for the guy who did it, not the guy who received it. But Flagler does have the speed to get outside, and that's what Walsh needs. He really hasn't had that. Cribbs has the ability, but it hasn't shown it in his year and a half with the Niners.
1st and 10 now for San Francisco on its own 39-yard line. As Young goes straight back to pass, has all kinds of time, and now he's in trouble. But he dumps it off to Flagler, who drops the football. 2nd down and 10, 1:20 as the clock stops, left to play in the first half.
Effective in a lot. Most of the times you see a quarterback scramble out like that, a big play is going to happen. Rand Tarkington used to be one of the best.
2nd down and 10. Young maybe making a play change on the line of scrimmage that time as well, and throws to Taylor underneath the coverage, and he's still on his feet along the left sideline. Gets inside the 50 of the Raiders to about the 47.
Great open field runner, John Taylor. I think Bill's going to do just like this. Run him on a shallow cross, which bread and butter play in a 49er offense. And that way you get the ball, you can see where the DBs are, and can maybe break a big one. Not that big or strong of a kid, but I'll tell you what, he knows how to make them miss.
Good job to stay in bounds there. The 49ers obviously getting a cushion right now at this situation and going for the underneath route with 1:11 left to play here in the first half, and San Francisco leading 21-16. Young, plenty of time to throw. A penalty flag hits Tony Hill inside the 35, but a flag back in the part of the field where you normally expect to see a holding call.
From holding. You've got Harris Barton and some young players in there. Steve Wallace. It's a good move on Tony Hill's part. You can see the veteran, the receiver there.
Singled out for is holding. They make a great block, and the running back goes 35 yards for a touchdown, and you say, what a great run by the running back.
And they won't call it holding. They call it a good grasp of the technique.
1st and 20 for the 49ers as they give it to Flagler, and he has some running room short of the midfield line, and the penalty flag goes in there as we saw Steve Wallace
a little late
mixing it up with Lionel Washington, I believe.
And here's the kind of 49er Raider mentality of these games that you use.
4 yards so far. The Raiders only 20 yards. And it's now a 1st down and 29 for the 49ers. The ball all the way back at their own 34-yard line. Young straight back to pass, throws over the middle, complete to Heller across the 40 to the 44 as they try to just bring it back a little chunk at a time. Clock moving now with 43 seconds now stopped. 43 seconds left to play in the first half.
Timeout number 3 for
You'll
San
notice Bill
Francisco.
Walsh hasn't been too involved up till
Encourage their rookies to be treated as equals, and it really helps because a lot of times you need rookies to go in and perform in their rookie season and make a valuable contribution to a team.
No question there. We'll touch on that in a minute.
Second down and 19 for the 49ers. Young swings it out to Flagler, trying to get to the sideline but can't. And a penalty flag goes down. Lionel Washington cutting Flagler's legs out from under him. But another penalty flag as it's getting a little bit sloppy here in the final couple of minutes of the first half.
We're going to call Bruce Collie on a leg whip there. Couldn't get to his man, so he throws up the leg. And it's actually kind of a dangerous move. You could really hurt somebody. But we did. We talked about hazing earlier. You could get a great player who comes in. He's given so much abuse, just making him sing his college fight song and this and that it can affect his confidence. Miami Dolphins, they hazed a lot when Don Shula, when I was down there as a rookie.
Number 69 on the offense, still 7 out.
Bruce Collie called for the leg whip.
And as you
49ers, it seems like they've been on second down for about the last couple of minutes here. 36 seconds left to play in the first half. Give to Rathman, who doesn't get much, and another penalty flag. Mitch Willis making the stop for Los Angeles. Flag thrown over on the left sideline, the far sideline, and we'll have to wait and see what that call is.
Stop by Mitch Wallace.
Now the Raiders lined up on
starting to get a little fatigued and it's starting to show.
second and 22 now for the 49ers on their own 41. 31 seconds left to play in the half. Young to pass. Now will run and slides down across maybe just short of the 45-yard line.
That's a must-learn move there by quarterbacks. The slide before you get hit.
Survival move.
He needs his checks for 2 more years. So.
Third down and 19 now for the 49ers as Young rolls out to his left, looking downfield, and throws complete to Flagler. Inside the 30, still on his feet along the sideline. The ball popped loose, and did it roll out of bounds or not?
No.
The ball popped loose, and someone for the Raiders recovered there just inside the sideline, I believe. Let's see what the officials mark here. Take another look at it.
Flagler to the corner. Young puts it right there for him.
That's a nice throw as he got it over the defensive back, Washington, who was in his way there.
Terrence just running on instincts, but he should have got to out of bounds, which he was trying to do there.
Stephon Adams was zeroing in on the football there.
And now they're discussing it, and Steve Young's going to get in there and try and convince him.
49ers coming back toward the line of scrimmage anyway, so.
Yeah, here's our officials for the evening.
Red Cashin, who you've heard quite a bit in this last couple of minutes, probably as much as us.
While the ball was loose, so the ball would belong to San Francisco, but we've got holding on the offense. The holding will be enforced.
Well, there's nothing worse as a skill position, running back or wide receiver. Go downfield, run your route, catch the ball, make it run, and then they call it back for holding. I mean, it happened.
The ball back at the 34 of San Francisco. Now they can probably just grind it out with a couple of plays, and they fumble the ball, but Young covers it. There's a problem there with the exchange that time.
They're going to stop the clock again.
The Raiders will stop the clock and use their final timeout. Leave that on. There won't be a helmet on his head this evening. Woods, 2 punt returns for 67 yards, 1 for a TD. But it's Stephon Adams back deep this time. And he fumbles the football, but he's finally tackled back at the 23-yard line, and that will do it as far as the first half is concerned. The 49ers with a 21-16 lead over the Los Angeles Raiders after one half here at the Los Angeles Coliseum. We'll be White to kick it off for the Raiders, and the ball comes down at the 7-yard line. Fumbling it there momentarily was Carl Monroe, but then getting it back as he's across the 10 to about 14, and that's where San Francisco takes over 1st and 10. See who the 49ers have in there offensively now. They did say that they wanted to get a good look at Doug DeBose. They wanted to get a look at Terrence Flagler. And again, we're going to be discussing a penalty on this play, I believe. The official's talking about something down there right now. And the 49ers indicate that the penalty's against the Raiders. But the 49ers wanted
is taking a look at everybody.
some of the other telling halftime statistics. The 49ers were penalized 7 times for 95 yards. The Raiders just 3 times for 25 yards. The Raiders traditionally one of the most penalized teams in the NFL, and they were only penalized for 25 yards in that first half. Chris White again to kick it now, and Carl Monroe back deep for the 49ers. Monroe will take the ball at about the 7, across the 10, the 20. They try to go with that wedge up the middle again, and he gets out across the 25 to the 28.
You talked about penalties earlier, Joe, with the Raiders. They used to, especially when they were in Oakland. I mean, it was part of one of their players would start a fight every game to draw a penalty, just an intimidation factor. And I think since they've gotten down here in LA, they've got a little more passive. Their training camp has been one of the most intense they've had in years, according to the veteran players. And I think you're going to maybe see a return to the old beat 'em up Oakland Raiders, actually.
Now it's Doug DeBose and Bill Ring, the running backs behind Steve Young, as the 49ers have it 1st and 10. Young to pass on 1st down, and down he'll go. As that time the Raiders put the big rush on him. And Jamie Kimmel, reserve inside linebacker, made the sack. Kimmel is 6'3", 235-pound linebacker from Syracuse.
Well, he stayed with Tony Hill all the way. I think that might have been a mistake there because he had Ron Heller out in the flat, and that's usually what happens when you stay with somebody. This offense is designed, if the man downfield's not open, to drop it off in the flat.
Loss of 8 on the play, 2nd down and 18. And now the 49ers will go with just a single running back, a double tight end formation, and 2 wide receivers, as Bill Ring is this one setback. And they pitch it out to Ring, looking for some running room, and he gets about 5 yards before he's stopped.
Bill Ring, one of the most inspirational players probably to come through the 49ers since Paul Hofer. He's their just inspiration leader. He's a great special teams player. He plays fullback and halfback. He's pretty much on the bubble this year. I hate to say it, but he's got some stiff competition back there from the Nebraskites, as we can call them, DeBose, Rathman. So Bill's getting a chance here, so he's going to have to do well.
Well, the thing that's made Ring so valuable in the past was his special teams play, and he's certainly on all the special teams plays or teams so far tonight anyway. Calvin Nicholas into the game, goes in motion to the right, and Tony Hill comes back to make a nice catch on that throw from Steve Young, but it's going to be short of 1st down yardage, and the 49ers will have to punt it away.
Tony Hill, years at Dallas, just a simple square out. He played for Bill Walsh at Stanford. Bill wondered, he talked to me and wondered if he could still play. And in this offense, I think Tony will be very effective because at Dallas, they threw the ball down the field more. And as you lose your speed as you get older, 30 years old in this league, the shorter passing game would be more suited for Tony's game.
Stephon Adams back deep for the Raiders, and punting for the 49ers is Lewis Berry. Berry trying to win a job and gets a good high punt off that Adams takes at the 28-yard line, looking for some running room, and is brought down by a necktie tackle there. That's Bob White, the 49ers draft choice out of Penn State, defensive lineman that they've converted to linebacker, making the tackle on the punt return coverage there.
That's actually was close to an illegal hit. They eliminated that shot to the head back in Jack Tatum, George Atkinson's day. Kind of cut down on the injury, so he was lucky he got away with that call. But White held out in training camp. He's a couple of weeks behind, and looking for some big things out of him, but he's just got to learn the playbook.
The Raiders now go with Ed Luther at quarterback, so you would assume that Hilger's evening is over. And they give it to Smith, the lone running back on that set, as he turns the corner and then is run out of bounds.
Ed Luther out of San Jose State, well-traveled in the league. He was with the San Diego Chargers for years. He throws a real nice pass. Actually reminds me of a former 49er quarterback, Steve DeBerg. Speaking of San Jose State, they also have hired Sam Graniason. He's the linebacker coach now. We'll kind of take that over for Charlie Sumner while he just strictly concentrates on the defense. So Bay Area is represented well here in LA.
2nd down and 6 for Los Angeles. Coming in motion is Horton. as Luther goes straight back to pass. Now rolls out to his right, has the big pressure, but dumps the ball off and completes it to Smith, who has a first down across the 40-yard line to the 41. Kevin Dean making the stop for the 49ers. Dean, a cornerback.
There it is again, the mobility of a quarterback. He stops, doesn't see anything, gives himself a little extra time. He'll go ahead and sprint out of the pocket. Now it's a scramble route. You see the receiver, Doki Williams, break out there. Steve Smith having himself a good game. Raiders told us that they're really high on him, and he's making a case for himself to stick with the LA Raiders.
1st and 10 now for Los Angeles at its own 41-yard line. As they give it to Horton, and Horton picks up a couple of yards before he's tackled.
He's run down from behind there by Keith Browner. Browner acquired in the offseason from Tampa Bay, wasn't happy down there. 49ers picked him up. He's a great player at USC. Bill Walsh was hoping his USC influence, Ricky Ellison, Ronnie Lott, would maybe, and then the supporting cast that he'll be with would bring him back to his all-star status. So it remains to be seen, but they really like him as a pass rusher and covering the tight end.
2nd down and 8 after the Raiders picked up 2 on that play. Horton and Smith, the backs behind Luther as he goes back to pass, has lots of time, then is flushed out of the pocket but completes the pass. And then a nice play after the catch and a little bit of interesting things along the sideline as Mervin Fernandez makes his first catch of the ball game for the Raiders. And Fernandez is a load when he gets his hands on the football, and I think he proved that there.
Here you're seeing some of the old Raider 49er classic matchup here. As we spoke, Fernandez out of Canada. Paid him a hefty salary to come down. They drafted him in the 10th round in 1983. He went up to Canada. They're really high on him. He's a big target. As I said earlier, they've had the smaller receivers over the year, and I think that'll help. Jeff Fuller.
And Ethan Horton.
Well, it's not smart to mix it up on the opposite team's sidelines.
For sure.
You got to go where your reinforcements are. Especially with the younger players, they're not going to jump in there.
1st and 10 for the Raiders as they move the ball into San Francisco territory at the 44. And Luther on play action straight back to pass on 1st down. Here comes the pressure, and the ball's loose, and I believe the 49ers got it. They got the big pressure that time from Kevin Lilly, and it looked like he is the one who forced the ball loose from Luther. We'll see if we can tell who picked it up.
Play action pass here. Ed got some pressure. I think he thought he could backpedal away, but no, the ball is swatted away, and Keith Browner makes a recovery.
You could see the nice play by Lilly to knock the ball away from Luther. 10:30 left to play in the 3rd quarter. The 49ers leading by a score of 21-16. Last series as Ed Luther fumbled the ball. Kevin Lilly forced it loose, and Keith Browner made the recovery for San Francisco. 1st and 10 now as Steve Young continues to lead the 49er offense. Dumps it out to Bill Ring, but incomplete. As Young's starting to get a little bit more pressure, Mike, than he was early in the game. Those first 2 series when he took the ball pretty effortlessly down the field and produced a couple of 49er scores.
Well, you'll see now they have the second team, but the second group of offensive linemen in there who aren't used to playing together maybe as much as the first group, so you're going to see a lot of breakdowns within the offensive line. But Steve Young's able to scramble out, so he'll make something happen. But as you said, it was a lot smoother with that first group in the first half. But he's got Tony Hill in there, John Taylor.
Well, the 49ers getting a look at the people they wanted to get a look at here in the second half. Bill Ring, the lone setback. They fake it to him on play action, and now Young has lots of time to throw over the middle to Tony Hill. A perfect strike down inside the 20 near the 15-yard line. A fine pass by Young as he had time to throw and put that one right on the money to Tony Hill to beat a former teammate, Ron Fellows.
Yeah, it's just a nice post pattern. Steve Young doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but he knows when to put the ball up. A great catch by Tony in a crowd.
36-yard play that time from Young to Hill.
Good play action fake by Young, and this is what a veteran receiver gives you too. He knows where the holes in the seams are. He gets down the field, he makes a catch in a crowd. This will help Tony's confidence too in this offense.
And you saw Young take a little bit of a shot after he released the ball there. 1st and 10 for the 49ers at the 17-yard line of the Raiders. They pitch it out to Ring, trying to get around the corner, and he does as he gets inside the 15 to the 14. I've always thought that that's one of the most admirable things or most difficult things for a quarterback to do, to stand in there, make your normal throwing motion, follow through, and know that you're going to get popped when you do that.
Well, that was Hilger's problem last year. He would not stay in the pocket. We touched on it earlier. You've got to trust your offensive lineman, especially on a ball that you want to throw down the field can't be scrambling out. It's a timing pattern like that post was. You've got to stay in the pocket, take your hits, and get the ball down there. With the new rule on the 2 steps before you hit the quarterback after the release, it's going to be a judgment call. We haven't seen any of it today, but we'll touch on that later.
2nd down and 7 now as the 49ers give it to DeBose for a couple of tough yards.
DeBose is an interesting story. He was a great running back in Nebraska, a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate going into his senior year, was injured, out the whole year. His attitude was questioned whether he wanted to come back and play football. He had an insurance policy that probably could have just cashed in and said goodbye to football, but he's a competitive athlete. He's come back off his knee injury, and they're expecting some big things out of him.
It's interesting how the 49ers take chances with guys like him. He signed as a free agent. Kevin Fagan was drafted last year, and they're hoping that he'll make an impact on the team after sitting out the whole year on IR. 3rd down and 3. Now the ball at the 10-yard line. Young to pass out of the backfield to DeBose. He struggles up near 1st down yardage, inside the 10 to about the 7. And it's going to be close to a 1st down. We'll see Taylor now out wide to the right, double tight end formation. And they pitch it out to Ring, trying to get around the corner inside the 10, down to the 5, and you saw the penalty flag fly into the picture as Ron Fellows makes the stop for the Raiders.
Looks like Steve Wallace might have been called on the hold there. Bill Ring, you got to love it, though. I mean, the guy's going to give you 150% every time. Looks like he was caught in the backfield there. He shook the guy off. He's actually a tough player to bring down. He's so strong in his lower body.
Holding during the run, number 25 on the offense, still 1st down.
Running back.
There you'll see
DeBose.
You see DeBose right there, and I don't know if he hooks him with his arm.
Went for the takedown. Good move in all-star wrestling, but not here in preseason.
That'll back the 49ers up to the 17-yard line, so it's
another thing DeBose didn't do much in college was block either. He was carrying the ball most of the time.
1st and goal from the 17. And Young on play action, looking down the middle of the field. Now he's trapped and runs out to the left and hits one of his secondary receivers, Ron Heller. Pretty good read job that time by Young to see that it was covered over the middle and find one of his 2nd or 3rd receivers on the play, tight end Ron Heller.
He looked for John Taylor on the quick post there. Tony Hill was covered down below also. Like I said earlier, that's what this offense gives you, the luxury of having that extra guy in the flat. Bill Walsh has always had one of the top completion rates in the NFL every year with his quarterbacks, and he's done it down the line. 2 quarterbacks we haven't seen today, Jim Plunkett and Mark Wilson. We'll talk about that a little later.
2nd and goal, the ball at the 13-yard line now. As they go to DeBose inside, and he gets to about the 10. Going to be well short of the 1st down. Jim Plunkett, who you mentioned, is on the physically unable to perform list, had rotator cuff surgery in February, I believe. And they'll have to make a decision with him when it comes down to final cut-down day.
Well, they'll have 4 ways to go. They can leave him on that list. They can waive him, put him on injured reserve, or activate him. They said he was making no progress, and then when training camp started, he really started to come on. So we'll see what happens with Jim.
3rd and goal now from the 10. Ring and DeBose, the same 2 backs behind Young. Fakes it to DeBose, and now looking for some running room himself to the 5, and got down near the goal line. They're going to mark it down at about the 2. Ronnie Washington coming up to make the stop for Los Angeles.
I tell you, that's an admirable quality for a quarterback to run. Yeah, to run out like that, but boy, you take a chance with a guy getting hurt. Steve Young gets hurt, he's limping now. Steve Young gets hurt, boy, you're thin at quarterback. That's a chance Walsh took when he traded Jeff Kemp to Seattle and got rid of Mike Morosky, who was on the roster last year.
And now you see Young as he calls timeout.
Stay in the pocket, please.
They don't need him to get hurt. But it's 4th and goal from the 1 now. 49ers with double tight ends. Fake the pass. Young rolling out to his right, looking, and he will not get into the end zone. Good defense by the Raiders that time as they had the receivers covered, didn't bite on the play-action pass, and then Young couldn't find the receiver as he rolled out to the right.
You know, like you said, they didn't go for the play action, and Heller couldn't get open. He should have just pulled up probably. Smart move by Young, though. He could have ducked his head in and got in there, I think, if he wanted, but not in the preseason.
Might have just gotten a lecture to that effect at that timeout. It doesn't do the 49ers much good during the regular season if Young is injured.
We just got a hot release here from Jerry Walker. both preseason games for the 49ers. There's 500 tickets left for sale throughout the stadium, part of Phase 2 remodeling at Candlestick. $21 each at the 49er ticket office, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Give a call. Let's fill up that stadium for the Niners.
1st and 10 now for the Raiders, deep in their own territory, as Luther in at quarterback gives it off to Steve Strahan for the Raiders, who's back into the ballgame now. Strahan played 2 or 3 series in the first half, and now with his first action here in the second half, Strahan and Horton, the backs now behind Luther.
This is a tough situation as an offensive player. You're backed up. You've got to get it out. Takes a little extra effort and concentration to get out of the hole, and you hate to punt from this situation. Let's see another run and maybe a pass to open this up.
Give it to Strahan again, and again he's hit at the line of scrimmage, struggling for yardage, but gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about it. It'll be 3rd down and 10, maybe 3rd and 11, as he might have lost a yard on that play.
I'll tell you what's enjoyable to watch the younger group of players in there. You can see the enthusiasm. You know, a guy who's been around the league 9, 10 years, they tend to be a little, I don't want to say cynical, but you know, it's kind of old hat, especially in the preseason. Once the regular season comes down to it, they're ready to play. But Walsh has always brought in a young flux of younger players to keep that enthusiasm throughout his team, and then have the veterans at spotted positions. So it's one of the best in the league at doing that.
3rd and, call it 10 still for the Raiders, as Hilger will take the ball. Luther will take the ball in the shotgun, throwing over the middle, and incomplete as he overthrew his intended receiver. So now the Raiders will have to punt it away. Matt Courtney, really the closest player to the ball on that play for the 49ers.
Like James Lofton, first shot at a reception. If that was James. No, it was a tight end. I'm surprised you haven't seen him trying to get the ball to Lofton and Fernandez more.
That was Gene Branton who that pass was intended for.
We'll see if Lynn Stiles goes to block the punt here.
Raphael Cherry back deep for the 49ers will stand at the 45-yard line of the Raiders. And Stan Talley, who's averaged 40 yards at punt, kicks it out of his own end zone. A wobbly low kick. Cherry will have a chance for a good return as he takes it to midfield. He's to the 40, running room around the corner, 30, and then out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. And the 49ers will have excellent field position with which to work when we come back. 3:51 left to play. Well, a penalty flag. Let's hold on for just a second. The 49ers were going to have the ball.
Number 36 on the defense, 10 yards from where the ball was caught. It'll be 1st down and 10.
Well, it was holding on the return rather than holding at the line of scrimmage. So it will be 49er ball when we come back. It's a 21-16 San. Yeah. What was the other thing we left up in the air? Was that the only one?
Plunket,
We talked about
Wilson.
Plunket.
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point too with Lucas.
Back at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, where the 49ers are holding on to a 21-16 lead over the Raiders. San Francisco's now been penalized 9 times for 115 yards. The Raiders 4 times for 30 yards. The 49ers were going to have that football at about the 25-yard line of the Raiders, but the holding penalty on the return backs them up to their own 40, where they'll have it 1st and 10. 3:51 left to play in the 3rd quarter. Steve Young's been in all the way at quarterback for the 49ers, pitches it out to DeBose, who gets up near the 45, a pickup of about 5.
We spoke about Mark Wilson earlier. You haven't seen him today. He really had some trouble last year. I don't really think his team was behind him, and at quarterback position, you've got to have that. They've pretty much given the #1 job to Hilger. I think Luther, Wilson, and Plunkett will probably battle for that backup spot, but I don't think we'll see Wilson today. Might just boo him out of the stadium if they brought him in. You'll probably see him next week against Dallas.
Young straight back to pass on 2nd down. And a nice throw to John Taylor. A good catch as Taylor gets across the 40 to inside the 35-yard line before Stephon Adams runs him out of bounds. You know,
I tell you what, Steve Young, some great fundamentals. Drops back, has the ball high, quick release, and puts it right on his numbers. And like, as a wide receiver, you want to get that ball and be able to see downfield so you can do some open field runners, especially a guy like John Taylor who can run in the open field. Players like myself, I use the sideline.
1st and 10 for the 49ers as they move the ball to the 33-yard line of the Raiders. Young gives the ball off to Ring, and Ring with maybe a tough yard. You know, you talked about the quarterback situation here. Mark Wilson has been booed unmercifully here at the Los Angeles Coliseum. One of the columnists of the Los Angeles Times, Jim Murray, a very well-known, well-respected columnist, wrote yesterday that Mark Wilson has been getting worse press than pit bulls lately. So that kind of gives you an indication of how things have been going for him here. No pickup on that play by Bill Ring. It'll be 2nd down and 10 for San Francisco. Straight back to pass goes Young and throws over the middle to Ring, and Ring catching the ball with the defender hanging on him. Dan McMillan was the defender for the Raiders, who was with Ring step for step, but Young with a good throw and Ring with a nice catch in a crowd.
I tell you, a lot of people questioned Bill Walsh when he brought in Steve Young, and actually it's really especially when he traded Jeff Kemp to Seattle. But I think Young is just going to be a perfect quarterback for this offense, and this game you're seeing such an improvement from last week, and it's just going to not do anything but get better.
3rd down and about 4 for San Francisco. 3rd and 3 as Young, now looking for receivers, in trouble and rolls out to his left. He'll run it, has the 1st down inside the 20, the 15, and then he does the very smart thing, which is get out of bounds and avoid being hit by Stephon Adams.
Young could be the first 100-yard rushing quarterback the 49ers have had in a while. It's an added dimension, but I know Bill's got to be scoring when he runs out of the pocket.
Well, what it's got to remind you of, really, is Joe Montana.
Yeah, young Joe Montana.
You remember Joe Montana in the 1984 Super Bowl against Miami. He had a couple of key, not the 85 Super Bowl, the 84 season, a couple of key runs to keep drives alive in very similar situations like that, where he scrambled for big yardage, got out of bounds, and kept drives alive as the 49ers went on to win that game. 1st and 10 now at the 13. They give it to Ring with all kinds of running room inside the 5, and he coughed up the football. The Raiders have it. Stephon Adams has it outside the 10 to the 14-yard line.
That's unfortunate. It's a great run by Bill. This looks like a helmet hit the ball and kicked it out. Let's take a look here.
Ring with a big hole.
He guarded the ball, too. He just got hit from either side. And sometimes, like I said, the contact in the NFL is a little stronger.
Stephon Adams making the recovery, and now the Raiders will have it 1st and 10 on the 14 when we come back. It's 21-16, 49ers. Of a good scoring opportunity that time as they turn the ball over, and the Raiders have it 1st and 10 now on their own 14. Strahan and Kenny King, the backs behind Luther, as we saw them early in the game, and they're now back in the ball game, and they give it to King to the Raiders, but he's going to be stopped for no gain. Raphael Cherry coming up to make the hit for the 49ers, along with George Achia.
Good pursuit by the 49ers here. All over. He really didn't have a chance. Once he got the ball and got to the line of scrimmage, they were all over him. Raiders look like they're trying to speed up their offense. They've got a new 40-second clock that they're experimenting with in preseason. Once the play is finished, they start the clock and try and speed the game up. So all the substitutions in football these days, it takes forever to get everybody in and out. So I think they're trying to guard against that.
Pickup of about a yard. 2nd down and 9. Now we've got Lofton and Hernandez both in the ball game for the Raiders as the ball is batted up in the air and incomplete. Luther was back to pass. Keith Browner got a hand on it for the 49ers to make that ball incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 9.
You got the same situation here. If you don't take your man on right to the line of scrimmage, Browner made a great play there. And the guy blocking, they can't tell when the ball's being thrown. And the defender sees it, he knows when to jump. And Browner with a 6'6" height knocked down a lot of balls.
3rd and 9 now for Los Angeles. Luther will take the ball in the shotgun. 49ers with their nickel defense in it. And Luther straight back to pass. Here comes the rush, and down he goes as penalty flags go down as well. Larry Roberts making the hit on Luther from the blind side.
You get your 2nd, 3rd offensive line in there, and it's starting to show up a little, I think. It's not taking anything away from Larry Roberts. #1 choice last year. The holdout in camp had a slow start. Here we see it again. Had an eye injury, but he really came on towards the end of the year. Looking for some big things.
That penalty is
Out of Larry and
declined.
Charles Haley
It's
again
fourth
this year.
down.
See, the ball came loose there momentarily. Roberts thought he might have recovered the fumble, but he didn't. The holding call against Los Angeles will be declined by the 49ers. It'll be fourth down, as Ray Criswell will get his first opportunity to punt now for the Raiders.
We're going to wear out this half of the field here if we don't get some change in field position.
Clock rolling with 25 seconds left to play in the third quarter. It's been a rather uneventful third quarter. The 49ers have moved the ball but been unable to score. Raphael Cherry back deep. Criswell, the player who the Raiders are expecting to battle Stan Talley for the punting job, will get his first opportunity to punt now. And the Raiders take too long to get the snap off. 13 seconds left to play in the third quarter, and they'll have to back it up and punt it a little bit deeper in their own territory.
49ers might try and block this punt. Talley got it off last. Well, this is Criswell, but Talley outkicked his coverage last time from down here. Your tendency is just try and get it off as quick as you can.
Cherry to stand at his own 49, so the 49ers should get excellent field position out of this, and again penalty flags at the line of scrimmage.
Corner.
Well, that is the end of the third quarter.
A sloppy quarter.
49ers with a 21-16 lead. We've played 3 quarters at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. We'll be back. Quarterback Steve Young. 49ers with the decided edge in offensive yardage so far. And Criswell to punt from out of his own end zone. Raphael Cherry back deep for the 49ers. High snap, but he gets the kickoff, and it's a low kick, and the Raiders will down it at about the 35-yard line of the 49ers. So San Francisco again with excellent field position. The 49ers had great field position throughout the third quarter, but were unable to take advantage of it. And we'll see if they can do anything here in the fourth.
Staying with Steve Young, you might give him 3 quarters and might see Bob Galliano in the fourth.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the 49ers like to go in for one more score with Young and then probably go to Galliano if they're able to do so.
Like you said, they've got 113 rushing, but I think Bill wanted that out of his running backs, not his quarterback.
Barry Sidney now into the ball game for the 49ers, and they give it to DeBose, who finds some running room across the 30 to about the 28. Sidney, fullback, DeBose, the tailback in that I formation. The 49ers were just in. Mike Wise making the stop for the Raiders.
Looks like Bill might just go ahead and try and work on his running game here. Got a little lead, threw some good passes in the first half. Now maybe look at some of the fringe players or other players who hasn't had a chance to look at in the first game.
Sidney and DeBose, again the running backs, on 2nd down and 3. As Young on play action will go back to pass, complete, down to the 10-yard line, down to the 9 to Tony Hill. Hill has shown a good ability to get open on the routes that he's thrown so far.
Well, it's a quick slant, play action, quick slant. And one of the raps on Tony Hill, unfortunately, when he was at Dallas, is he didn't have the heart to go over the middle. Well, I think he showed that to us today. He caught the post pattern earlier and took a good shot, and he's caught 2 slants. So there you see Ronnie Lott, who hadn't dressed out for the first 2 games. Him, Carlton Williamson, and Eric Wright, part of that fabulous foursome that came in 1981. We'll see him later in the preseason, I'm sure. You can't keep Ronnie out too long.
First and goal for the 49ers at the 8-yard line of the Raiders. They pitch it to DeBose to the 5, cuts back, goes in for the touchdown. 49ers have to be happy with what they saw on that play. Some good blocking along the right side there, and a couple of nice cuts by DeBose, who started outside, cut back in, and then cut to the sideline for the touchdown.
You'll see here, he cuts up in the middle, sees the hole. Nice little stiff leg there, and his first NFL touchdown. I guess Bill didn't want him to spike the ball this year, so cutting back on that.
27. Kick is up, and penalty flags fly. Yards on just 3 plays, capped on an 8-yard run by Doug DeBose to put San Francisco ahead by a score of 28-16. And now Steve DeLine will kick it off with the 49ers. Ethan Horton and Stephon Adams back deep for the Raiders. Coming down to Horton at about the 2. to the 10 and gets to the 15, and that's it. Tackle made that time
Returns it to the 15-yard
by Sean Thomas.
Brought down by Cliff Benson.
Cliff Benson made the tackle for the 49ers. And anytime you can hold a team down inside the 20 on the kickoffs, that makes the special teams coach happy.
Oh, yeah. Cliff Benson, a former tight end with the Atlanta Falcons.
14 yards in the return.
Great player when he was with them, and they switched their offense and kind of phased him out, and he's trying to make a comeback here with the 49ers. Has a shot at making it, actually.
First and 10 for the Raiders on their own 15. Ed Luther has been the quarterback for LA throughout the entirety of the second half. And they pitch it out around the right side to Zeph Lee. Lee, the former USC running back.
George Cooper on the stop.
Raiders and 49ers similar in their training camps in the battle for competition of starting jobs, especially at the wide receiver and offensive line positions. You've got James Lofton, Mervin Fernandez, Jesse Hester, Doki Williams, which would make a good 440 relay team. The 49ers, Tony Hill, Johnny Lamb-Jones, Mike Wilson, John Taylor, Jerry Rice. It's just a log jam. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top in both camps.
Second down and about 4 after 6 yards on that pickup by Lee, and Luther is sacked by Keith Browner, who came from his outside linebacker position, put the big rush on Ed, and buried him back at the 11-yard line.
49ers think Browner's most effective attribute is his blitzing ability. He's got the size. It's tough for a running back to take on somebody who's 6'6", 240. He's got the height where he can get up. You saw earlier where he blocked the pass. Here, just tackle couldn't get out fast enough, and Luther takes head dive. He really didn't want to.
Browner was acquired during the offseason from Tampa Bay, a player that the 49ers thought needs to develop more consistency in his play. They say he's capable of a big play from time to time, but they want to see more just conventional plays on every down and maybe not have him be more consistent, basically.
I think the tendency,
still third down.
the tendency of an athlete who's a great natural athlete is to let up sometimes. He'll make some big plays for you, but then he'll come back and just make a stupid play. So if anybody can turn him around in his consistency, it would be George Seifert of the 49ers, defensive coordinator.
It'll be 3rd and 18 for the Raiders after that delay of game play. Backs the ball up to their 6-yard line. Luther with the unenviable job of trying to get something back here, and he's under big pressure again. Throws over the middle, the ball's tipped up in the air and incomplete, and penalty flags fly. Jeff Fuller is enraged by that call. It looks like he might get a pass interference call.
Oh, you got James Lofton here. Nice move inside. He's going to run a square in. It looks like Fuller might have had a hand on him there. Right there, you see it.
Fuller,
good play by Jeff, but
he was probably arguing that he got a piece of the ball, so how can it be interference? But he was riding.
Luther got a little pressure there. He's going to be sore on Monday.
Kevin Fagan was the guy who came in and put the hit on Luther there.
49, first down.
Talked about Fagan earlier. He's a great player at University of Miami. Tore up his knee in the Orange Bowl. Was on injured reserve all last year with the 49ers, and one of the quickest, strongest linemen they said they've had in camp in a long time.
1st and 10 now for the Raiders at their own 27 after that pass interference call. Luther gives it off to Lee, and Lee is stacked up after picking up a couple of yards.
Kevin Dean on the tackle. Eric Wright dubbed him the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Tell me how he acquired that name.
He's just one of the most violent hitters in camp. He probably hit the hit of camp a couple days ago on Del Rogers, and 49ers really like him. He strikes people, he's active, probably gonna have to make it on special teams, but great player at TCU, really didn't have a supporting cast. And usually when you're wearing a 17 number at linebacker, the chances don't look too good, but they really like what they see in him.
2nd down and 7 for LA. Luther will go back to pass. Throwing over the middle and incomplete. In and out of the hands of his intended receiver. It hit the ground. The 49ers pick it up and they try to run, but it was incomplete.
That was Mervin Fernandez. He was in Canada for years. They're really high on it. The ball's right on. It's a great throw by Luther. You've got to make that catch.
Then once you start fumbling the ball and you're coming over the middle there, it's only a matter of seconds before you know you're going to be hit, and that really makes it tough to hang on to the ball when you don't have
You don't get it on the first grab. It's tough to get it on the second bounce. It's the old adage, you're going to get hit anyway. I used to hate this adage, but so you might as well catch the ball, but it's true. I mean, that ball was right on his chest. You got to come up with that catch.
3rd down and 7. Luther out of the shotgun. Penalty flags again. Here comes the pressure, but it's incomplete. Pretty good tight coverage that time by Donald Anderson for the 49ers.
Luther started from behind the center and then ran back. I don't think his players were set for a full second. That might be the penalty.
Penalties indicated against Los Angeles.
Illegal motion, number 82 on the offense. That penalty is declined. It's 4th down.
Receivers didn't have time to get set. The tight end.
4th down, the 49ers will punt it away. Or rather, the Raiders will punt it away. Ray Criswell will be back deep for Los Angeles, and Raphael Cherry will receive for the 49ers at about his own 30. 10:48 left to play in this ball game as the 49ers lead it 28-16. It's a high booming punt away this time, and Cherry signals for a fair catch back at the 28. Again, penalty flags, and things are deteriorating a bit in terms of penalties in this ball game.
Well, as a punter, that's what you like, the hang time. You know, a guy can kick the ball 60 yards every time, but he's going to outkick his coverage. But if you get the hang time, floating the ball up there for about 4 or 5 seconds, your coverage team's going to get down there. You're usually going to get a fair catch like you saw every time. And that's what a coach, special teams coach, looks for in a punter.
Illegally downfield, number 28 on the offense. Illegal block, number 32 by the receivers. They all set. We'll kick it over.
Too, because they play in a preseason game, and you figure you go back, you rest a couple days, and start back. But it's right back to 2-a-day practices after this. So towards the end of the 4th quarter, you start thinking about that.
Again, Criswell to punt, and again, Cherry back deep for the 49ers. A shorter kick, but again, a high kick. And Cherry again signals for a fair catch and falls down there at the 31, where the 49ers will take over 1st and 10. 10:31 left to play in this ball game. The 49ers leading by a score of 28-16. We'll be back. Was not used in the regular season last year, and then they signed him to a future contract to play this year, and we're getting our first look at him this evening. 1st and 10 for San Francisco on the 30. They give it to DeBose. Running room across the 35 to the 36.
Galliano is well-traveled himself. He played with the Kansas City Chiefs for a couple years out of Utah State. And went on to play in the USFL. And like you say, he signed a futures contract. I think what's a good sign for the 49ers. He's got some experience. He stays pretty cool back there under pressure. He's got a nice release. He's got the height to throw the ball. He could end up sticking. John Pay with the problems with his shoulder will probably go on injured reserve. And if the rosters go to 49, I think you'll see the 49ers keep 3 quarterbacks.
5-yard gain on that run by DeBose. And Galliano gives it to Harry Sidney, who gets near the 40-yard line and close to 1st down yardage. Young is finished for the evening. Pretty decent statistics for him. 20 of 27 in the passing department for 247 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. In addition to that, he rushed for 58 yards.
Hey, Bill Walsh has got to be happy with his performance today. Like earlier I said, Bill Walsh took a lot of heat for picking up Steve Young, and I think a lot of his detractors are going to think twice about this act.
Carl Monroe out wide to the left now for the 49ers on 3rd and 1. And they give it to Sidney, who tries to get the 1st down yardage, does, across the 40 to the 45. Ron Fellows coming up to make the stop for the Raiders. It'll be 1st and 10 for the 49ers. And again, the 49ers would like to just grind it out here on the ground. This is the part of the game that Bill Walsh said is very important. Late in the game, you want to keep the ball on the ground. You've got a lead. You want to protect that lead and be able to grind the ball out on the ground, use up the clock, and pick up 1st downs in the process.
Touched on it earlier. He calls it the 4-minute offense. And just get 1st downs and keep the ball out of the Raiders' hands.
1st and 10 now for San Francisco. Sidney and DeBose, the backs behind Galliano, as he'll go back to pass on 1st down. Swing it out to DeBose. Running room across the 50, the 45, and down near the 40 of the Raiders as he has 1st down yardage. And you might not expect him to put the ball up in the air at this particular point in the game, but that's such a safe pass. And I'm sure his second option, if that pass isn't there, is to throw the ball away along the sideline.
Exactly. It almost serves as like a quick screen to a receiver. You put the back out in the flat. When a running back gets the ball in the open field like that, he's got plenty of room and he can see it and make some moves.
DeBoe's making a good case for himself in his first 2 ball games as a 49er, both last week against Kansas City and here tonight. Galliano to give it to DeBose again, and he's near the 35-yard line before Darrell Byrd makes the stop for the Raiders.
I'm looking out here. Okay, Harry Sidney with a bruising blocker. Looks like he opened up a little hole for him there. DeBoe's a quick slasher type runner. He hits the seam fast and he's there, and if he gets out in the open field, he's got some good moves.
6-yard pickup for DeBose on that play. 2nd down and 4. The ball at the 35-yard line of Los Angeles. The 49ers trying to grind it down. 7:13 and counting left to play in this ball game. They lead 28-16. This time they give it to Sidney with running room across the 30 down near the 25. And a first down for San Francisco. Ron Fellows with the task of trying to bring that load down, and that's no fun for defensive backs.
My tendency would be let him run by and jump on his back.
Christian Okoye is the running back from Kansas City that Matt Courtney had to wrestle to the ground in that situation. Another first down for the 49ers. The ball at the 25-yard line of Los Angeles. Galliano on play action. Swings it out to Sidney, who makes the catch and gets up, picks up maybe a couple on the play.
It's kind of odd to look at here. We're watching the first half of the first team, and you don't see Dwight Clark. One of the greatest receivers in 49er history. He injured his knee, had orthoscopic surgery, I think 3 times in the offseason. And he's just now running up in Rockland. He hopes to be back later in the preseason, but just a great player for the 49ers over the year, and we'd love to see DC back. If anybody can come back off an injury, it will be Dwight, and we want to wish him the best of luck.
Pick up a 3 on that play. 2nd down and 7. Same 2 backs, DeBose and Sidney. As Sidney again gets running room down near the 15-yard line, and again close to first down yardage. You know, Dwight Clark, there's probably no one more symbolic of the turn that the 49ers made in the 80s than Dwight Clark with the catch.
Yeah, that's true, Joe. He's one of the most competitive athletes. It really put us over the hump as a team that year. We went on to the playoffs, went on to win the Super Bowl that year with that catch. Kind of, like you say, epitomizes the 49ers and their just tenacity. It really comes from this reflection of Bill Walsh.
First down for San Francisco on the 15-yard line of the Raiders. And they give it to DeBose. DeBose struggling for more yardage across the 10 down near the 8. And Harris Barton lost his helmet on the play, but
welcome to the NFL.
Yeah. This has been an impressive drive for the 49ers. They've kept the ball on the ground. Let's pause now for station identification. This is the San Francisco 49er radio, television network.
Ball spotted at the 8-yard line.
Joe Fonzie with Mike Schumann back at the Los Angeles Coliseum. 2nd down and 4 for the 49ers. Give it to Sidney as penalty flags fly. The Raiders had that one stacked in pretty well.
Penalty flag in the play.
Oh, what about 6 plays in a row there without a penalty flag? So it's an improvement right there.
And keeping it on the ground, they were grinding the clock down considerably. 49ers will be called for illegal procedure. 4:16 left to play in the ball game. The clock stopped now. And it appears the 49ers will go on to their...
No eligible receiver on the end of the line. Still 2nd down.
It appears the 49ers will go on to their 4th consecutive win in this preseason series between these 2 teams. 49ers 32-0 winners last year, won in 85 and 84. But the Raiders have an overall series lead. They've won 14 and lost 6 have the Raiders since these 2 teams began playing each other in this series. This is the 21st meeting between the 49ers and Raiders in the preseason. Galliano on 2nd down, throwing complete, and in for a touchdown goes Calvin Nicholas. Calvin Nicholas making the catch at the 2 and then making a good move to lose a defender and go into the end zone.
What a thrill for a rookie receiver. It looks like he ran just a comeback route. He had the tight end coming across there. Yep, come back, made the man miss, and goes on to score. He's a rookie they got in the 10th round out of Grambling. Tore up his knee also his senior year and really didn't come on to the end of the year. 49ers were real high on him early. He kind of leveled off, and maybe this will turn his performance around and come on strong here towards the end of the preseason. Big target, though, fast, and 49ers like that type receiver.
The line to attempt the extra point. It's up and good. 3:54 left to play in this ball game. It's the 49ers 35, the Raiders 16. We'll be back. In Los Angeles, where the 49ers have just scored on a 13-yard touchdown pass from Bob Galliano to Calvin Nicholas, to probably put this game out of reach. I would think that if the 49ers decide to use 3 quarterbacks, Mike, Galliano just made a pretty good case for himself there. Moving the team, keeping the ball on the ground, then making a good pass for that touchdown play.
Well, as I said, he's a veteran player. He's been around. He knows what it takes, and I think he's a good prospect.
Adams and Horton again for the Raiders as the line kicks it back to about the 1, and Adams takes the ball up to the 21-yard line before he's met by Bob White and Bill Ring. And the Raiders will have it first and 10. 3:43. Tonight's attendance, 47,191 here in the Coliseum, and a good portion of those people have left. And even when you get that many people in this stadium, it doesn't look like.
That's true.
First and 10 for Los Angeles. 3:43 left to play in the ball game as Luther goes back. And the pass is intercepted by Bob White, and he'll go in for the touchdown. And that's got to be a thrill for that rookie from Penn State, as Luther telegraphed that one, and White stepped in front, took the touchdown pass, and 49ers are making it a rout.
Well, Ed looked like he went to throw the ball, and he hesitated, and in sports, when that happens, you usually lose. Bob White saw it then. He was looking at the man, stepped in front, he's gone all the way. We touched on it earlier. White held out of training camp. He's actually one of the last to sign. Jeff Stover, the only one that hasn't signed. So this has got to help his case and his confidence on defense. Anytime you hold out like that, you come in, the players, they don't frown on it, but they've been at camp really working hard for 2 weeks, and they like to see you suffering along with them. Misery loves company, I guess. So I think that'll help Bob White get accepted a little more with the 49ers.
I think especially when you're a rookie and you're
right.
The line will come in to attempt the extra point. Kick is up, and it's good.
Steve Young holding there. He limping a little off the field. He will be sore tomorrow. I think they might go ahead and make a move and have Steve Young hold for Ray Wersching if he does end up to be the kicker, or whoever ends up. It's just tough to leave your #1 quarterback in there holding for extra points. The injury factor goes up. Ray's gotten used to Joe, who's been doing it for years, but I think it's time to make a switch there.
Not much time elapsed between scores there. The 49ers got on the board with 3:54 left to play in the game when Galliano hit Calvin Nicholas with a 13-yard touchdown pass. Then just a few seconds later, 21 to be exact, 3:33 left to play in the ball game. Bob White intercepts Ed Luther and goes 27 yards for a touchdown to make it 42-16 San Francisco.
Well, they talk about preseason games. They don't mean much, this and that, but I'll guarantee you when Oakland and San Francisco plays, Al Davis does not like to see this happen.
Well, the 49ers and Raiders have talked in the past about how much they like playing each other in this preseason series because they bring their teams along at about the same level. They like to bring the first team in for a portion of the first half, make the substitutions, and it's not a situation where if the game gets close down the line, they're going to bring the #1 people back in to try to win the game. They figure that it's more important to see what you can see in these ball games, and they've certainly got an opportunity to see a lot of players here in this one. Stephon Adams takes the kickoff and comes out across the 25 to the 28-yard line. And again, the Raiders will have it there first and 10. Kind of a surprise, I think, on the part of the Raiders that we didn't see Lofton and Fernandez a little bit earlier in this ball game.
I really don't understand that either. I thought they really wanted to get a look at those two, and we actually talked with some of the Raider officials when we were down early, and you just touched on the fact that they bring them along the same, but sometimes you like to see a younger player going against a veteran to see how he reacts under that type pressure, and I think sometimes during a game you'd like to see that.
Lofton now wide to the left for Los Angeles as Luther goes back to pass. And throwing over the middle, almost intercepted again by Cherry.
Well, we'll see Trey Junkin. The ball was intended for. He was injured last year, and really the heir apparent to Christensen. We'll see if he can come back off the knee injury. Lofton cleared it out deep, which you've got to respect, and Junkin came underneath. Luther's got a great arm. He might push Mark Wilson for that second spot.
Luther played for Jacksonville in the USFL after his San Diego Charger days, and now here with the Raiders. Second down and 10. 3:18 left to play. Luther, lots of time, had a chance to scan the whole field and then throws over the middle and complete to Mervyn Fernandez. Fernandez again giving you an idea there how he can go up for a ball and use his size, because that ball was thrown high over the middle, and that's something that wide receivers aren't too thrilled about.
No, you like to keep your feet on the ground if you can, but there's a lot of times when you're going to have to sell out. Fernandez has dropped a few passes, so he could really not afford to drop that one. He went up and got it.
First and 10 is a 47 for Los Angeles. Clock rolling now with 2:40 left to play in the ballgame. And Luther will go back to pass once again. Look out, here comes the rush, and down he goes. Mark Cochran making the tackle for the 49ers on the sack. Cochran, a free agent out of Baylor, who had a tryout with the Houston Oilers last year. That's the 6th sack for the 49ers.
Actually, that was Anthony Holyfield.
Oh, it is Holyfield.
Holyfield, yes. Cochran, the offensive player.
We got some double numbers here.
Yeah, yeah, makes it tough.
Second down and about 17 now as Luther will go back to pass. And incomplete, as the pass was intended for Lofton. He tried to come back for it, unable to make the catch.
Raiders say Lofton's been looking, actually Lofton and Fernandez have been looking great in practices, and you know, James, a veteran of 10 years in the league, he goes down to a knee here. Boom. Usually that'll jolt the ball just enough so you can't hold on to it. It's like leaving the ground for a ball and you maybe miss time and come down the ground. It'll shake your hands where the ball might pop out. And anytime you go to a new team or you're a rookie, you're pressing a little, and you know, James has been to the Pro Bowl for years. And so I think he's just trying to learn the offense and contribute as best as he can.
We'll get the 2-minute warning after this play as Luther scrambles for some time and then is able to hit Lofton this time in 49er territory at about the 39-yard line. And Lofton gets out of bounds. 1:57 left to play in this ball game. The 2-minute warning. It's the 49ers 42 and the Raiders 16. The 49ers playing out a 42-16 score here over the Raiders as San Francisco will end up winning this ball game. If you get a look at the people who made this broadcast possible, we also want to thank our statistician Stan Otaki and our spotter Vince DeGeorge here in the booth who have helped us tonight. First and 10 now for the Raiders at the 39-yard line of San Francisco. Luther to pass. No secret there. He's in trouble, and Kevin Fagan has him and throws him down.
Body slams him. For
the 7th San Francisco sack. Just a reminder, the next 49ers network telecast will be Thursday night, August 27th at 6 p.m. The 49ers and the Chargers from Candlestick Park. That's right here on your 49ers television network stations.
Raiders going to their hurry-up offense.
Luther again in trouble as the pressure's on, but he throws and completes it somehow to Junkin as Fuller was all over him, and penalty flags fly on the play as well. It'll be, I believe, interference against Fuller. No, it's a hold against the 49ers in the secondary. So that'll be a first down for the Raiders. And I guess right now, Mike, if you're the Raiders, you know that you're not going to win this ballgame, but you still want to make this last couple of minutes as productive as possible and see what you can see.
Oh yeah, as a team, you want to, you know, end the game on a positive note. As an individual player, you know, you want to show them that, hey, when you're down, you're going to stay in there and fight. And for the younger players, towards the end of the game.
Holding by the defense, number 49, first down.
Jeff Fuller on the hold. For a younger player, though, you kind of, at the end of the game, you're going through it, what I do right, what I do wrong. Fortunately for the rookies this year, there's not going to be a cut until September 1st, I think, with the strike looming for the NFL Players Association. They're going to hold on to the players as long as they can, so they don't have to worry about the Turk knocking on the door the next couple of weeks. But you are thinking about, what did I do wrong? What can I do to improve? And I think the flight back for the 49ers will be an enjoyable one tonight.
1st and 10 for the Raiders at the 36-yard line as Luther back to pass. Hit as he throws. And Donald Anderson on the defense that time with James Lofton. A little bit of bumping down the field there. And Lofton looked like he wanted a flag, but pretty good coverage that time by Anderson.
Well, it's a young rookie, like we said earlier. Here he is. He comes out. He's been working against Dwight Clark or these type people all during camp. And now he has James Lofton, one of the premier receivers ever. And Don Anderson held his own there.
Just good position that time by Anderson.
Actually, catching and receiving has become like basketball almost. When a ball's thrown in the air, if you can get your body between the defender and the ball, you're going to have a better chance of coming up with a catch.
1:27 left to play in the ball game. Luther straight back. Again, here comes the pressure, and down he goes as getting an arm in there to throw him down.
Clyde Glover.
Was Clyde Glover.
He's got a lot of playing time due to the injuries on the defensive line. Both teams really depleted by injuries pretty early in the preseason.
And again, the Raiders will go with no huddle here. Clock rolling, 1:15 left to play.
3rd and 22.
Luther calling a play at the line of scrimmage. Here comes the pressure again. This time he steps up, and a penalty flag in the backfield. The pass was complete, I believe.
Anytime a quarterback sits in the pocket that long, you'll probably see a holding call.
49ers next week will open their home season when they play the Dallas Cowboys at Candlestick Park. The Raiders will be here against Buffalo. 49ers being consulted about their options on this penalty. 1:01 left to play in the ball game.
Holding, number 78 on the offense, still 3rd down.
Penalties on John Clay, the #1 draft choice of the Raiders. Huge offensive tackle, 6'5", 295-pound rookie.
They compared him with Harris Barton. Big man, quick feet, bright future ahead of him, especially with older tackles, Henry Lawrence. And I think we'll see a lot more of him in the preseason with the Raiders. Actually had 3 draft choices in the offensive line.
4th down and 30, and you can't really, or rather 3rd and 30. Still, if you're Ed Luther, neither one of those is too attractive of a proposition. And the pass is complete there up near the 40-yard line.
Fernandez had a good crab there. He might have a little almost rookie jitters himself. You know, he played up in Canada for years, and it's a little different game up there.
Timeout number 1 for Los Angeles.
Now he's down here in the NFL, and you know, all the press clippings he brought along with him. He's supposed to be this great receiver, so that's a little added pressure on him. And early on, he had some jitters, dropping the ball, and he seems to be holding on now.
Well, there's no question that the Raiders had some bugs that they had to iron out here tonight in their first exhibition game of the season. But the 49ers have to be pretty happy about some of the things that they've been able to accomplish here tonight. They went in with a defense that had only one of the players that they project to be a starter at the beginning of the season. The defense held its own. And most impressive was the offense and the play of Steve Young early when he took the 49ers the length of the field on a couple of different offensive series. The first 2 times they had their hands on the ball and seemed to be able to run the offense considerably better than he did last week against Kansas City. A great improvement over just 1 week. Luther back to pass, throwing deep and intended for Lofton, but incomplete. And the 49ers will take over as that was a 4th down and 12 play and just run out the clock here.
That's a tough time on a receiver, too. You're losing, you're driving down the field. They know they're going to throw the ball. They're in there with their nickel. You're getting beat up. You got to run down, come back. Quick offense towards the end, especially in the first preseason game. I imagine their conditioning is being questioned. Rusty Hilger, though, had a decent game. If his receivers held on to the ball early on, I think he would have seen a little better in the statistical department for him. So they've got to be pleased with Hilger's progress here, too. It's only the first preseason game.
49ers will just have Galliano go down on one knee here as they have a couple of extra backs in there to protect him. If there were negatives for the 49ers tonight, it was the punt coverage team. I'm sure they're not happy about the fact that they had a punt return for them against them for a touchdown, and the fact that they were penalized as many times as they were tonight, stopping a couple of other potential scoring opportunities. But you can't be too upset about the fact that you win a ball game by a 42-16 score and you get a chance to see a lot of players, which the 49ers got an opportunity to do here tonight.
Exactly. Bill Walsh, a real pet peeve with him, penalties, and you see the players now shaking hands.
Clock rolling down, and that'll do it. The 49ers win their 4th consecutive game in this preseason series between their old Cross Bay rivals, dating back to the days when the Raiders were in Oakland, and the Raiders still lead this overall series 14-7, and this is the 21st meeting between these two teams. Final score, 49ers 42-16. Mike, any other comments that you just have on what you've seen so far with the
I
Niners?
think you pretty much covered it. Like you said, they saw Steve Young, and he did a good job, and 49ers will look for some good things against Dallas next week.
All right, that wraps up 49ers football for tonight. We hope you'll join us for our next 49ers Network telecast on Thursday, August 27th at 6 o'clock for the Niners and the San Diego Chargers. For Mike Schumann, this is Joe Fonzie. Thanks for being with us. Once again, the final score, the 49ers 42 and the Raiders 16.